Dragon Ball. Destroy Planet Vegeta with Frieza. Chapter 1. Where am I? Mu Chuan's consciousness gradually became clear, but there was still infinite darkness in front of him. His eyelids were heavy and he couldn't open them. He remembered that he was dead. He was hit by a speeding motorcycle and saw his body being smashed into pieces in the last moment he was conscious. His death was particularly miserable. Just as he was confused, a very vague conversation suddenly came into his ears. Lord Frieza, this Saiyan seems to have regained consciousness, and his vital signs are rising. Oh, is that so? It seems to be a tenacious little life. Seeing that he is so lucky, let's take him with us. It just so happens that we are also going to Planet Vegeta to form a partnership with the Saiyans who claim to be a fighting nation. With this little guy here, they should feel friendly to me. That's natural. If the Saiyans on Planet Vegeta are not tactful, then there is no need for us to be polite to them. They are just some stinky monkeys with a combat power of only 10,000 at most. Oh, ha ha ha. There are Super Saiyans among the Saiyans, so don't look down on them. The voice of the conversation became smaller and smaller until Mu Chuan could no longer hear any sound. But Mu Chuan felt extremely terrified. What did he hear at this time? Lord Frieza. Saiyans. Planet Vegeta. Oh my god. Could this be the world of Dragon Ball? Did I travel through time? Mu Chuan really didn't believe that he had traveled through time, let alone to the world of Dragon Ball, but, at this moment he was indeed alive. And conscious. Then it was right, it was really the world of Dragon Ball. Ding. Host found, system binding. Binding successful. First time binding the system will automatically sign in. Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully, and reward Sabo's transformation skills. Mu Chuan hadn't reacted to the fact that he had traveled through time, and suddenly the system's prompt sound popped up in his mind without any warning, and he felt his head buzzing. He was a little overwhelmed, and even thought he was hallucinating. He wanted to shake his head to see if it was real, but he found that his body couldn't move at all. But just when he wanted to give up, a more terrifying scene appeared in front of him. A translucent light curtain appeared in his mind. Host. Mu Chuan. Age. 16. Bloodline. Saiyan bloodline. Sign in. Already signed in. Can sign in randomly once a day. Combat power. 2400. Skill. Transformation skill. Sabo. The appearance of this scene in his mind made Mu Chuan understand that all this was not an illusion. He not only traveled to the world of Dragon Ball, but also had his own golden finger, the sign-in system. Although he has only obtained Sabo's transformation skill now, it is just the beginning. If he can figure out the sign-in function of the system, wouldn't he be so happy? Even if the combat power in the world of Dragon Ball is particularly terrifying and destroys planets and the universe at any time, it does not mean that he cannot survive. Well, the current strength is indeed a bit weak. With a combat power of only 2400, it is obvious that he is a Saiyan of the intermediate fighter, at most slightly stronger than the average cosmic person, relying on such combat power. No matter where he goes, it makes people feel worried. But the emergence of the system made Mu Chuan completely ignore all these problems. Beep, 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 beep. The alarm of the energy cabin sounded loudly, and then a burst of footsteps sounded, and there were also a lot of noises. Then the energy in the energy cabin was interrupted, and the door of the energy cabin opened. Mu Chuan was finally able to move, and he slowly opened his eyes. Looking at this strange place, he was a little confused. But before he could recover, several cosmic people appeared in front of him, one of them pointed an energy gun at him, and each of them looked at him with ill intentions. Hey! Look at this Saiyan, he is so playful and tender. I guess he doesn't know where he is at this time. Otherwise, let's let him know what this place is. Don't mess around, otherwise King Frieza will kill you if he knows. Oh, this guy is so lucky, it seems that there is no way to play with him. These cosmic people didn't take Mu Chuan seriously at all, and they even flirted with him openly. It can be seen how unscrupulous he is. Mu Chuan's eyes were a little dull, and he didn't recover for a while. Stay in the original memory. But then a huge memory emerged in his mind, filling his mind in an instant, making him feel a little pain in his head. He couldn't help but cover his head with both hands. This scene happened to be seen by the cosmic people. So there was another round of ridicule, and everyone thought that Mu Chuan's brain was probably broken, otherwise why would he look so stupid? Wandering Saiyan. Both parents died, and the spaceship was destroyed by the meteorite belt. This time he also understood the origin of his body. The original owner's parents did not support King Vegeta's rule, and finally chose to wander the universe. But unfortunately, he was too weak and was killed by the cosmic people. The original owner of the body was lucky and escaped, but in the end the spaceship was destroyed by the meteorite. At the moment of losing consciousness, he was rescued by Frieza and his group who were just about to go to Vegeta Star. Finally, that is the scene where Mu Chuan just woke up. Look, this guy is really stupid. He still hasn't reacted until now. Why does King Frieza keep such a person here? It's probably because of those stupid monkeys. Ha ha ha, monkeys. It's so fitting, monkeys with tails, ha ha ha. Have you said enough? Mu Chuan slowly came back to his senses, with a flash of tyranny in his eyes. Oh, you seem to have an opinion. The cosmic people picked up their energy guns and pointed them at Mu Chuan, looking fearless. However, after getting familiar with his body, Mu Chuan has completely adapted to it, and at the same time, he has inherited the combat power of this body. In addition to Sabo's transformation skills. This can definitely kill these cosmic people in seconds, not to mention, these cosmic people are so annoying. It's simply not a pity to die. Whoosh! Mu Chuan disappeared in a flash, and before the cosmic people could even fire their guns, they felt a heavy blow, and the energy guns in their hands were instantly discarded. Bang 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 bang. Several cosmic people were instantly blown up, their brains instantly flowed out, and their deaths were quite miserable. Mu Chuan, however, did not feel uncomfortable at all. He had even seen his own miserable death, so how could he not feel uncomfortable? Da 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 da. The sound of the battle alarmed the entire spaceship, and a large group of cosmic people rushed in, each holding his own energy gun. When these cosmic people rushed in, they first pointed their guns at Mu Chuan. However, when they saw the cosmic people lying on the ground, they were all shocked. What happened? Why did this Saiyan, who seemed to have no fighting power, kill these cosmic people so easily? This had a little impact on them. Don't move, don't blame us for being rude if you move again. This is King Frieza's spaceship. You, a stinky monkey, dare to act wild here. Do you think that we saved you and you dare to act wild here? Although the cosmic people were surprised, they were more angry in their hearts. A stinky monkey with a tail actually killed their people, and it was on their territory. This is really unbearable. Mu Chuan ignored these cosmic people. He walked to the alien he had knocked down, squatted down, picked up the detector, and put it on his ear with ease. Although he had never really seen it, he had seen a lot of it in anime, so he didn't feel unfamiliar. Mu Chuan's every move made the aliens here feel a little worried. It looked like they might shoot at any time. He turned on the detector and glanced around. Beep beep beep. Combat power 1100. Combat power 1234. Combat power 1400. The highest combat power is only 1400, so weak. After looking around, Mu Chuan felt that the combat power of these aliens was really weak, and the highest combat power was only 1400, which was really unbearable. This made him more relaxed. This is Frieza's spaceship, but from the conversation he heard in the energy cabin, he also knew that Frieza has not yet attacked the Saiyans. It's still a wait-and-see moment. He didn't need to be too scared. As for these weak cosmic people, they could probably just be killed. How could the cosmic Emperor Frieza care about some small fish and shrimp? What did you say? Say it again if you have the guts. You stinky monkey. Oh, your fighting power is really weak. If I were you, I would have shot myself in the head with an energy gun. If you are weak, you have to admit it. Don't be ungrateful. Mu Chuan was not afraid at all, and his attitude was particularly tough. This immediately detonated the cosmic people present. Chirp chirp chirp. Bang bang bang. The cosmic people attacked without hesitation, and the energy guns hit the energy cabin, and the equipment in the energy cabin exploded immediately. It was destroyed by these cosmic people. The smoke was shrouded, and all the machines in the energy cabin were destroyed, all kinds of lines were broken, and all sights were blocked. Ha ha ha, monkey, you can't be so arrogant now, can you? You dare to bully me, go to hell. The alien smiled triumphantly, especially when he saw the destroyed energy cabin, he looked even more triumphant. However, his smile froze in the next second. You are the ones who should go to hell. ZZs. A red energy cannon blasted out directly, taking away all the aliens in one wave, and even all the energy equipment on them was destroyed. Nothing was left. What's that sound? Frieza sat on his aircraft, his tail swaying, and when he heard some sounds coming from his spaceship, he asked with some confusion. Sabo looked at it and said with certainty, it seems to be the sound coming from the Saiyan's energy cabin just now. Oh, interesting. It seems that the little guy is awake, and he has a bad temper. Let's go and see him. Frieza drove his aircraft slowly towards where Muchuan was. Sabo followed closely behind. After Muchuan cleaned up all the cosmic people, he knew that he would face people with higher combat power next, and with his combat power, he probably couldn't hold on for long. Frieza has a large group of powerful cosmic people under his command, the most powerful of which is the Ginyu Force, whose combat power is generally above 40,000, and the highest is even as high as 120,000. His little arms and legs can't deal with it for a while. But he is not afraid. His Saiyan identity has given him a good talisman. Don't be afraid. Just when he was full of enthusiasm, the detector suddenly started to alarm, and the combat power displayed on it was about to explode. He hasn't carefully looked carefully. With a bang, the detector exploded directly. At this moment, he felt someone approaching from behind. He turned around slowly, and this glance made him seem to be frozen. Hey, little guy is quite energetic. You just woke up and killed my people. How do you think I should punish you? I am your savior. Frieza looked at Muchuan jokingly. Sabo stood aside with his arms folded. He first looked at the current energy cabin, and then turned his eyes to Muchuan. The damage is a bit serious. Why don't we let him work for us? Since we saved him, and now he has damaged the energy cabin again, then he will work for us until he can redeem himself. That's the only way. I just happened to be going to Planet Vegeta. I'll take this little guy with me. As soon as Frieza finished speaking, he didn't care what Muchuan was thinking at all, and turned around and left. For someone like Muchuan who has such weak fighting power, it is not worth his extra attention. If he is not a Saiyan, he would not have done anything unnecessary. Sabo did not leave. Instead, he began to arrange Muchuan's work. Since he said there was work to make up for the loss, he would naturally do what he said. Muchuan was a little more honest at this moment. He should not be too arrogant when he first arrived. He knew that the fighting power of Sabo, who looked particularly handsome, should not be underestimated. Especially after the transformation, the fighting power was even more amazing. Now he is far from being an opponent. He has to work harder to practice, or wait until he can sign in, then he will have a chance to defeat him. When you can't reach the opponent's fighting power, you have to be a little careful and restrained, otherwise you will really be killed. Muchuan was finally assigned to a team of cosmic people. He is the captain of this cosmic team. After all, his fighting power is as high as 2,400, which is much stronger than the general cosmic people. Who else can be the captain? When he accepted the space team, he also received a mission. The mission was not difficult, but he needed to leave the spaceship. Muchuan had no room for refusal. The planet of Aora. This is an inconspicuous planet, and it is also classified as a habitable planet. This is the reason why the team that Muchuan is in came here. Muchuan had just taken over this astronaut team, and he was assigned this mission. He didn't know whether it was trust or a test. But no matter what, he would not leave easily. Although leaving was free and not dangerous, he wanted to get the system sign in. Being by Frieza's side, he could sign in with Frieza at any time. Wouldn't that be more fun? It was much more useful than his headless fly-like wandering. Although there was no fixed rule for the rewards obtained by signing in, the stronger the guy, the better the rewards should be. And there was also a certain degree of specificity. Just like Sabo's transformation. Frieza had an ability that made him very envious, but he didn't know if he could get it. Alas. This sign-in opportunity is probably wasted, what a pity. If I can stay by Frieza's side, not to mention whether I can sign in Frieza, even if I sign into the Ginyu Force, it will also allow my combat power to soar. It's much better than being in this shitty place. Here. Mu Chuan used the detector to observe the surroundings, and even scanned the entire planet, and found that the highest combat power was only 3000. This is barely stronger than him. But, once Mu Chuan uses Sabo's transformation, his combat power will be close to 3000, or even stronger. But no matter what, he still looks down on such low-end combat power. Too weak. With such a heaven-defying system, how could he still want to mix at a low level comfortably? In this world of Dragon Ball, it is full of dangers everywhere. If his strength is not enhanced, he may be easily beaten by others. Throwing away the unknown fruit in his hand, Mu Chuan stood up and said to the cosmic people around him, "Destroy all the creatures on the entire planet for me, this planet can be sold at a good price. Don't let King Frieza down, otherwise everyone will be destroyed." The other cosmic people laughed grimly. Although they also looked down on Mu Chuan, they knew that their strength was insufficient and dared not show it easily. Mu Chuan took all of this in his eyes, but he didn't care much. What he needed to do now was to improve his combat effectiveness as soon as possible. These rubbish cosmic people. How could he take them seriously? Whoosh 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 whoosh. The cosmic people took their weapons and flew around the planet. The combat effectiveness of these cosmic people was not strong. It is because of their own equipment that their combat power has such a small breakthrough. The energy waves will not be emitted autonomously, and they all rely on their own equipment and machines. It can be seen how weak these cosmic people are. But, they are also much stronger than some cosmic creatures, because most cosmic creatures have no independent consciousness at all, and are even like beasts. Mu Chuan's goal is very clear, that is, the highest combat power on this planet. That guy has a combat power of 3000, and no one knows what kind of stuff he is. He moved at super high speed, following the trajectory above the detector. After a while, he really found the guy with the strongest combat power. It was a monster like a centipede, with armor all over its body, and barbs standing up on it, making this monster look particularly hideous. The centipede's body is very large, and the centipede creature is purple-black. At this time, it was eating, but suddenly felt the appearance of Mu Chuan. It looked up at once. Hiss. It's interesting. I didn't expect it to be such a monster. I just don't know if this monster can withstand my attack. Bang. Mu Chuan didn't hesitate at all, and didn't even think about giving this centipede monster any chance to breathe. He rushed forward directly. The centipede felt provoked. It directly abandoned the prey under it, and rushed up to the sky with its entire body, aiming at Mu Chuan. In an instant, Mu Chuan transformed into Sabo without hesitation, and the muscles all over his body doubled in an instant. Thanks to the combat suit he was wearing, his clothes didn't burst instantly. At the same time, his face didn't become ugly like Sabo's, but only a little round, and he looked just a little fatter. Just a circle. But, his fighting power suddenly increased. 2700. 2800. 3400. His fighting power stopped at 4000 points, and Mu Chuan felt the explosive power. Ha ha ha. That's the feeling of being full of power. Mu Chuan felt the most confident moment since his rebirth. After all, he just opened his eyes and saw Frieza, who was like a devil, which in itself made him have a shadow in his heart. At the same time, he also knew how cruel the Dragon Ball world was. If he didn't have such a strong strength, he might be completely exterminated. Especially when the timeline of the Dragon Ball world returned to normal, if his strength did not improve, he might be killed by others. He didn't want that result to happen. The only way was to improve his own strength. The sign-in system was his only reliance, and he also urgently needed to sign in Frieza. That's the overlord of the universe. Although his strength in the future is not that strong, for him at present, it is already a very terrifying existence. Moreover, Frieza has another crucial ability, that is, he can survive in the vacuum of the universe. If he has this ability, where can Mu Chuan go? However, at this moment, he needs to solve all the things in front of him. Only after completing this task can he return to Frieza's spaceship with peace of mind. Go to hell. You monster. Bang bang. Two powerful energy waves emerged from his hands and directly hit the centipede's head. At the same time, the centipede's head exploded directly. At this time, the system prompt sound sounded again. Ding. Time is up. Officially sign in. Sign in successfully. Sign in reward broken limbs regeneration. Mu Chuan was slightly stunned. He didn't expect that the time would be up so quickly, and he had already signed in directly at this time. Although he was a little surprised, when he felt the skill he had acquired, his face couldn't help but reveal a hint of joy. This was simply an accident. At the same time, it was also a kind of luck. He didn't expect that he could regenerate a broken limb. Perhaps this was the skill possessed by the centipede in front of him. Doesn't that mean the centipede in front of him may not have been killed by him? But no matter what, he currently has such a skill. For him who has a Saiyan body, this is definitely a particularly good skill. Whenever he is on the verge of death, his combat power will surge. This is simply a skill born for him. After dealing with the final boss of this planet, Mu Chuan was too lazy to clean up the mess and directly recalled all the members of the team. He gave orders directly. Clean up the mess and pack up the planet for sale. After everything is resolved, we will leave this planet. Swish, swish, swish. The team members rushed over after hearing the news. When these cosmic people saw the scene in front of them, they immediately showed varying degrees of shock on their faces, although they knew that Mu Chuan was a Saiyan. His combat power was slightly stronger than theirs. But, such a quick resolution of the battle, and with the strongest person on the planet, this was indeed unexpected. The originally restless heart was instantly calmed at this moment. Yes, Captain. The cosmic people were honest. Mu Chuan was too lazy to pay attention to them. Just a group of cosmic people with a combat power of about 1,000. No matter where they are in the position of cannon fodder. In a few minutes, the aliens had cleaned up the mess and packed up the planet Huonger to the team selling the planet. After everything was done, the aliens gathered honestly, and did not dare to wander around, or even do anything against the rules. Mu Chuan had been waiting impatiently for a long time, so he boarded his spaceship and quickly closed the hatch. Then his voice echoed in the air. Go to Sola's planet. The rest of the aliens boarded their spaceships, quickly input commands, and also ejected like cannonballs. Sola's planet, a high-level civilization planet in Frieza's camp, has very advanced technology, and is also one of the best in the universe. But the Sora people on it can only seek Frieza's protection because their bodies are too weak. In order to get protection, they handed over all their technology. It became a high-level civilization planet that provides technology in Frieza's camp. The reason why Mu Chuan did not return to the team quickly was that he wanted to go to this high-level civilization planet. As a Saiyan with fighting blood flowing in his veins, he will become stronger when facing a strong opponent, and will get a huge improvement when he is on the verge of death. In addition, he has now acquired the skill of regenerating broken limbs. If he doesn't make good use of it, it would be a shame to the system. When he acquired this skill, he had already had a plan and method in his mind on how to improve his combat effectiveness. First, he imitated Vegeta's method and made a gravity room. As long as he could practice hard in it, he could at least steadily improve his combat effectiveness. He was sure that he could surpass Ginyu in a short time. Although there was a sign-in system, he didn't think he could surpass Frieza quickly. After all, he was the emperor of the universe and the big boss in the early stage. Since he couldn't surpass it so quickly, he would use him as a thigh to complete the gorgeous surpassing. At least he had to have the basic combat power to become a Super Saiyan, and then he would become a Super Saiyan, and then he would have a reason to say no to Frieza. The spaceship cut through the dark universe, rushing straight to the planet Solas. Time seemed to be frozen in the universe, and the passage of time could not be felt at all. A few days later, Mu Chuan and others arrived at the planet Solas and officially entered the orbit of the spacecraft. They did not crash directly into the ground, but were received by the receiver. After all, it is also a planet with advanced civilization, so it is impossible that there is no receiver. When they walked out of the spacecraft, a group of strange humanoids came over. This group of humanoids has a pointed head with dense tentacles on it, which are like antennas. The body is small, which makes people feel very different. But it is precisely because of this body that such an advanced civilization planet can be created. It can be said that the universe is so big that there is nothing strange. This is also the first time that Mu Chuan saw the Solas people, so he naturally looked at them with great curiosity. Welcome, all lords. We have already prepared everything. You can enjoy the food and relieve your fatigue. The leading Sora said respectfully. Even when facing ordinary aliens, they could only be respectful because their own combat power was too weak. Mu Chuan glanced at them, and the detector automatically showed the combat power. 53. 43. 65. 89. The combat power of the Sora people is obvious at a glance. Their strength is not bad, but in the vast universe, it can only be regarded as the bottom. They can't even be cannon fodder. No wonder they can only rely on Frieza. If they have such weak combat power, they want to survive in the universe, and the chance is unlikely. If it weren't for the universe, Emperor Frieza, they had been eaten to the bone. Facing the respect of the Sora people, the people in the universe took it for granted and showed a wretched smile. Mu Chuan waved his hand and said, "There is no rush to welcome them. I need you to do something for me." The Sora people were stunned. The smiles of the group of cosmic people froze instantly, and there was a trace of dissatisfaction in their eyes, but they dared not say it out loud, and they held it back. Mu Chuan didn't care about these. Anyway, he was the biggest and the most powerful at the moment, so why should he care about the mood of these cannon fodder? If it affected his mood, he would kill them. I want you to help me make a gravity room now. The gravity doesn't need to be too strong, so that one person can move freely inside. In addition, gravity equipment should be made to adjust the gravity at will, preferably in the form of bracelets, necklaces, etc. Mu Chuan stated his request. This request was nothing for the technology of advanced civilization planets, which was why he came to this advanced civilization planet without hesitation. The Sora people were stunned and didn't understand the deep meaning of this, but they didn't dare to refute it, and hurriedly said, "Please rest assured, sir, we will do it immediately. It may take a little time. It's okay, I can wait." After saying that, he walked away alone. You are free to do whatever you want, but you must not destroy the soulless planet. If I know. Mu Chuan looked back at the cosmic people expressionlessly, and didn't say the result, but his eyes said it all. Many cosmic people shuddered, nodded one after another, and hurriedly promised. Although they have some opinions about the Saiyans, they are indeed very strong, even stronger than them. Not to mention their captain. That is even more unfathomable. When the group of Sora heard Mu Chuan's words, they showed a trace of gratitude in their eyes. Although they have already joined Frieza, they have always been at the bottom of the camp. No matter which cosmic person with some strength, it is possible to bully them. Mu Chuan's order has been received. There are still some useful things in this cosmic team. This makes the Sora people grateful, and they are determined to help Mu Chuan build the gravity room and gravity equipment as soon as possible. Ding! Time is up, automatic sign in successful. Reward 1000 combat power. On a cliff on the planet Solas, Mu Chuan is conducting a difficult training. Suddenly, he heard the system's prompt sound, and couldn't help but reveal a bitter smile on his face, and even felt a little regretful. It's like this again. As long as you don't stay with the strong, the chance of signing in to get a good reward is too low. In the few days of space travel and the day on the planet Solas, he didn't sign in to get a good reward. He just got a combat power increase. Host: Mu Chuan. Age: 16. Bloodline: Saiyan bloodline. Sign in. Signed in. You can sign in randomly once a day. Combat power: 7100. Skills: Transformation skill, Sabo, regeneration of broken limbs. In a few days, no good rewards were obtained, but the combat power was increased to 7100. This combat power is estimated to be over 10,000 when Sabo transforms, and can barely compete with King Vegeta. But it is still too weak. He has not even reached the minimum threshold of the Ginyu Force, so it is naturally not enough to satisfy him. This makes him more eager to return to Frieza's side. Although accompanying the king is like accompanying a tiger, there are many benefits and the danger is not a big deal. At this time, the Solas found Mu Chuan and reported the manufacturing of the gravity room and gravity equipment. Mu Chuan rushed over immediately. As long as he has the gravity room and gravity equipment, he can continue to practice and improve his strength. Moreover, with his skills of regenerating broken limbs, he can quickly improve his strength without worrying about his life. As long as he is seriously injured, he can improve by more than half in a very short time. And the gravity equipment will continue to let him improve at any time. The sign-in system needs to be relied on. But his own practice cannot be left behind. When he came to the main city of Sola's planet, the Solas led him to a technological park for one day. In the park, there is a metal house of hundreds of square meters, which is tall and large, and looks very technological. There are many Sora people around. Seeing this scene, Mu Chuan knew that this might be the gravity room. Is this the gravity room? Yes, sir. This gravity room can be up to 500 times, but, sir, don't try it easily. If you don't make sure you can withstand such a high gravity, you may be squeezed into a meat pie in an instant. This Sora man said it bluntly. After all, if something goes wrong, their sin will be really big at that time. It would be very unlucky to be blamed. Therefore, I have to explain it here first. Mu Chuan is naturally clear. After all, he is also a member of the Crossing Army. Vegeta had such a strong strength at that time, and he could also become a Super Saiyan. He was seriously injured under such a high gravity. And his current combat power is not even 10,000. He is just a little Kurami, how dare he try it easily? Not to mention 500 times. 100 times is enough. But with this high-power gravity room, his strength can be rapidly improved. The gravity room is like the wealth of the Saiyans. Mu Chuan likes it more and more. Can the gravity room be moved into the spaceship? This spaceship does not need to be too big, but it must have the ability of the gravity room, and the speed does not need to be too fast. I wonder if it can be made. Mu Chuan can't stay on this planet forever. Besides, he may be traveling in space most of the time, and it is impossible for him to fall into a deep sleep once he enters the universe like other cosmic people. This is too much of a waste of time. He even wants to practice every moment. After all, staying by Frieza's side may indeed get a better chance to sign in, but it is also accompanied by danger, and he needs to improve his strength all the time. Besides, it's not just Frieza. There are always many powerful cosmic people around the Cosmic Emperor, which may also become a crisis for him. How can you survive without strong strength? After hearing what Mu Chuan said, the Sora people immediately said, "It's completely possible, sir. We will try our best to make it, but it will take a few more days." For a high-level civilization planet, the technology can be said to be quite advanced. It's just a matter of moving the gravity room into the spacecraft, which is naturally an easy task. Hearing this, Mu Chuan nodded. I wonder how the gravity equipment you made is going. Please look here, sir. The Sora people guided Mu Chuan, and there were indeed several unknown equipments placed beside the gravity room. Among them were bracelets, anklets, vests. There were several kinds of equipment. These are the gravity equipments ordered by you, sir. Because these equipments are relatively delicate, we can't make too many in a short time, and the gravity multiples can't be made too high. Each gravity equipment can only be designed to 100 times at most, which is the maximum multiple. As the Sora people introduced, Mu Chuan really understood these gravity equipments. They didn't use some special metals, but used their super high technology to emit a special magnetic field. To achieve the effect of releasing gravity. It really deserves to be the technology of an advanced civilization planet. The means are brilliant. Mu Chuan slowly put on all the equipments. He didn't aim too high. After putting them on, he adjusted all the equipments to twice the gravity. Then slowly adapt. Then, when he was fully adapted, he adjusted all the gravity to 10 times. At this time, he felt that his body was very heavy. Now that he has a combat power of 7,100, he may have returned to his original combat power after wearing these gravity equipment. Even when he has not adapted to it at all, his combat power may be weaker. Feeling all this, he knew that it was almost done. If he was too anxious, it would be ugly at that time. Very good, you did a good job. Next, help me move the gravity room to the spaceship. I want the strongest spaceship that can withstand very violent collisions. After that, Mu Chuan went directly into the gravity room. It is naturally much better to practice in other places than in the gravity room. He did not directly turn on the gravity function in the gravity room. Instead, he first adapted to the gravity equipment on his body and could operate it freely, and then slowly began to practice. And his practice was also very crazy. Completely ignore consumption and fear of injury. It is also because of this that his basic combat power has soared. Every time he was injured, his strength would instantly increase after he recovered. In just 2 days, his basic combat power has reached 13,000. This is the result of both training and signing in. In 2 days, his combat power improved significantly, but it was not as fast as the improvement of Sun Wukong in the original work. At this moment, Mechuan couldn't help but sigh. Worthy of being a son of the world. As long as you want to improve, you can basically improve it to a level beyond people's imagination. That's simply doubled dozens of times. And now that he is using such high gravity, all the gravity equipment in his body has reached 10 times, and the multiple in the gravity chamber has also reached 3 times. This increase is only a few thousand. Compared with Sun Wukong's, there is no way to compare. Sure enough, although gravity is more suitable for Saiyan blood, it cannot be like Sun Wukong. However, the improvement is also very significant. With my current combat power, it should be easy to deal with King Vegeta. It's a bit difficult to face the Universe Emperor Frieza, but King Vegeta on Planet Vegeta is no longer his opponent. Not to mention his basic combat power of 13,000, with Sabo's transformation, his combat power can almost reach 20,000. If he turns into a gorilla, his combat power will officially exceed 6 figures. This is almost to the level of Ginyu. This is a qualitative leap. If things go on like this, he feels that he will soon have a 6-digit combat power. Signing in and practicing go hand in hand. Isn't the combat power increasing rapidly? At this time, an image suddenly appeared on the hatch of the gravity chamber, and the face of a Sora man appeared on the image. Sir, I'm sorry to disturb your training. The other adults just summoned us and King Frieza ordered us to go back as soon as possible. Mechuan stopped practicing. Not only was he not unhappy when he heard these words, but he was extremely excited. If he could return to Frieza's side, then the chances of signing in and getting good rewards would be much higher. What's more, the necessary training equipment is now available. All that's left is a spaceship. So Mechuan asked, "How is my spaceship doing?" The construction has been completed, but the time is a little rushed. At present, the gravity chamber can only have a maximum of 100 times the gravity, and there is no way to reach 500 times. After the Sola man finished speaking, the expression on his face was slightly uneasy, and the tentacles on his head were flying randomly, looking very nervous. Mechuan was not impressed that such a spacecraft could be built in 2 days, and it also had a gravity chamber. This method is already quite clever. What else is there to pursue? It's just a pity that the gravity chamber he is using now is too large to be moved into the spacecraft. This is a gravity chamber with 500 times the gravity. Looking around with a little reluctance, he immediately opened the hatch of the gravity chamber and walked out. Lead the way. The Sola people led Mechuan to his spaceship. Because after his request, the spaceship was built larger, but because of the rush of time. It's only about 10 square meters in size, which can be said to be big or small. It's bigger than Frieza's Legion spaceship. Not only can it sleep, but his spaceship can also train in it. Especially equipped with a gravity chamber. Looking at this large spaceship, Mechuan became more and more satisfied. At the same time, the rest of the spacemen also rushed over. Although they were cannon fodder, Frieza's summons also included them. During this period of time, they followed Mechuan's orders and did not dare to act too arbitrarily, but some outrageous things were inevitable. Many Sola people dare to be angry but dare not speak out. Mechuan glanced at these cosmic people, and naturally knew how evil these cosmic people were in their hearts. If the time came, it was not recommended to send them to the west completely. There's no need to stay with these cannon fodders now anyway. Let's go, King Frieza has summoned us, we have to get back as soon as possible. After speaking, he ignored them and boarded his spaceship directly. Now even if he is wearing gravity equipment, his basic combat power can still be stable at 6,000 combat power. Once he takes off the gravity equipment, his combat effectiveness will be doubled. Nowadays, his basic combat power is just suppressed by the gravity equipment, but precisely because of the existence of these gravity equipment, he is practicing all the time, and his combat effectiveness is gradually improving. I guess it won't be long. His combat power can surpass Babalia. As for Saab, that's no problem either. Looking at Muchuan's arrogant look, they were almost as if they were nothing. The cosmic beings looked at each other, with a hint of anger on their faces. What are you so proud of? Saiyans, King Frieza is going to Planet Vegeta now, and those Saiyans are ready to make a move. If you anger the king, you Saiyans will suffer. You are just a stray dog. One of the cosmic beings said indignantly. However, when he said this, he did not turn off his detector at all, and the other cosmic beings did not notice it. Suddenly, a red energy wave flashed by. The cosmic being who just said so arrogantly turned into ashes in an instant. Not even a slag was left. The sudden scene scared all the cosmic beings, even the Sora being beside him was scared. The large spaceship that was originally flying to space stopped in the air at some point, and the hatch of the spaceship slowly opened. Mu Chuan's figure appeared. At this moment, Mu Chuan crossed his arms and looked at the cosmic people below with a cold and ruthless face. Who gave you the courage to gossip behind my back? If you dare to talk nonsense again, he will be your fate. You don't need to care about me, just take care of yourselves, a bunch of cannon fodder. After saying that, he ignored these cosmic people. Although he could kill these cosmic people at any time, they were still members of his team after all, and he couldn't kill them all at once. Otherwise, he would inevitably be accused of wanting to rebel. As for the cosmic person who was killed, it was just his own fault. He dared to commit a crime, so he naturally had to be punished. This is understandable. Those cosmic people suddenly became silent, and they didn't dare to say anything more. They boarded their spaceships one by one with dust on their faces. At this time, how could they dare to say more? For fear that they would be killed by an energy wave. Watching one astronaut after another board the spacecraft and escape the gravity of the planet Solas, rushing into space. At this time, all the Solas people breathed a sigh of relief. It was like a sword hanging over their heads had left. The sky cleared up. A bunch of cannon fodder. If it weren't for causing trouble for Sabo and the others, you wouldn't have a chance to survive. Mu Chuan closed the hatch of the spaceship and looked coldly at the scene outside the spaceship. This group of cannon fodder is a group of trouble after all, and it is also a drag. He is going to find a few relatively reliable team members. At least not too lame. Some things can't always be done by yourself. Of course, at this moment he clearly knows where Frieza's goal is. If he can find a few reliable Saiyans on Planet Vegeta, he can be regarded as having his own team, but the only thing he is afraid of is being feared by Frieza. If so, it will be troublesome. In the face of strong strength, it is still not appropriate to face Frieza. The vast universe. A huge spaceship is flying slowly. This is the spaceship of the universe Emperor Frieza. At this time, Frieza sat in his small aircraft, wagging his tail, and asked Sabo beside him, "Where is that wandering Saiyan?" After completing the mission, he flew to the planet Solas, and asked the Solas to build a gravity room and gravity equipment on the planet, as if for training. And his combat power has also improved a lot. From the data displayed in the detector, at least the combat power has reached about 7,000. Sabo reported the information he got one by one. Frieza shook the wine glass in his hand, looking particularly leisurely. Oh, wow. Interesting, this little guy. As expected of the Saiyans, who are known as the fighting nation, they can double their combat power in such a short time. It seems that he has great talent. If he is given a little more time, he can probably reach the height of King Vegeta. No matter how talented he is, he can't compare with you, the king. Sabo beside him flattered him a little. Frieza smiled, glanced at Sabo, and then said nothing more. King Vegeta has been a bit agitated recently. This race calls itself a fighting race, and it is indeed quite capable, but it is too proud and has never completely surrendered. Faced with Frieza's words, Sabo said disdainfully, "They are just some monkeys with a combat power of less than 10,000. They think they are a fighting race, but in the vast universe, there are countless seeds stronger than them, so what are they? They dare to be so arrogant and refuse to submit to you, the king. If they still don't know what's good for them this time, they will be worse than cannon fodder." Sabo's words can be said to be quite arrogant, even extremely unscrupulous, even in front of Frieza. Who made him a popular person in front of Frieza? Even the Ginyu Force can't match his status in front of Frieza. Frieza acquiesced to Sabo's words. Recently, all the Saiyans on planet Vegeta have been extremely agitated. When accepting missions, they have disobeyed his orders several times. Although he knew that the Saiyans would not easily submit to him. But now it is so obvious. This made him extremely unhappy, not to mention that a message that was circulated in the blood of the race emerged in his mind. The legendary Saiyan will be born among the Saiyans. That is the deadly enemy of the frozen demon clan. Therefore, when the Saiyans showed turmoil, he wanted to destroy the entire Saiyan. Frieza is conceited, but it does not mean that he is stupid. Although he is half believing and half doubting in his heart. But he will not let the crisis hide in the dark. King Vegeta has been a little agitated recently, and has really shown his ambition. He needs to be beaten. If you still don't accept it, then become the dust of the universe. Frieza's words basically put the entire Vegeta planet into the cold palace, which also determined the purpose of this trip. Due to the order issued by Frieza, the entire Legion began to move. The troops of the entire Legion headed towards the Vegeta planet. At the same time, all the Saiyans on the Vegeta planet also returned, and the Saiyans in various parts of the universe returned to the Vegeta planet on the spaceship. This scene is particularly spectacular. Planet Vegeta. King Vegeta summoned a group of Saiyan warriors. Recently, Frieza has summoned all the Saiyans back. I don't know what he wants to do, but I feel that he has bad intentions. King Vegeta looked at the Saiyan warriors with a grim face. He is the king of the entire planet, with a combat power of more than 10,000. They are well-deserved superior warriors. All the Saiyan warriors present are superior warriors, but their combat power is only a few thousand. But even so, they are stronger than many cosmic people. If they become gorillas, their strength has increased 10 times. In addition, with reason, their strength is even more terrifying, which is why they are so proud. Hearing King Vegeta's opening remarks, the faces of many Saiyan warriors present were also not good. They thought they were a fighting nation, but there was a cosmic emperor suppressing them. This made them extremely unhappy. One of the Saiyans said indignantly, "Since we became Frieza's thugs, we haven't received much benefit, and our residence has been suppressed. It has even fallen to the point of suspicion. Since the other party has made such a big fuss to recall all the Saiyans, it is definitely not simple. Why don't we rebel?" As soon as these words came out, the hall was instantly quiet. Although everyone had similar thoughts, they did not dare to speak easily. Frieza, who is known as the Emperor of the Universe, was too terrifying. The Emperor of the Universe is not a boast. If you don't have very strong strength, you don't dare to have such a title. Of course, they still don't know the true strength of Frieza. They only know that he is very strong. When King Vegeta heard those words, he was not angry, nor did he refute. Instead, he seemed very calm. If the time is right, I will overthrow Frieza's rule. Let the Saiyans become the strongest nation in the universe. After King Vegeta finished speaking, he began to discuss with all the Saiyan warriors present. When they were in the meeting, they had already turned off the detector. This most basic common sense was naturally impossible to forget. However, they never expected. Frieza had long been dissatisfied with them and even wanted to destroy them. The most important thing is that they completely misjudged Frieza's strength and overestimated their own strength. As a time traveler, Mu Chuan understood the development of history and Frieza's strength, so he did not dare to act rashly. If he was as ignorant as King Vegeta, he would really give away his life in vain. A larger spherical spaceship joined the team of Frieza's army, followed by many small spaceships. This is Mu Chuan's combat team. The spaceship and the main ship were connected. They successfully entered Frieza's main ship. A logistical astronaut hurried forward. "My lord, King Frieza ordered you to meet him as soon as possible." Mu Chuan nodded and walked straight away. He was not surprised at all. Although his combat power was not strong, his Saiyan identity was destined to be quite dazzling in Frieza's army. No matter where he went or how much his strength improved, someone would always pay attention to him in secret. This is also the reason why he went to the planet Solas so openly, and he was not worried that Frieza would know. With Frieza's pride in Tsunere, he would basically not pay attention to him unless he touched the bottom line. What's more, his combat power was only a few thousand, which was not enough to really arouse Frieza's fear. Came to Frieza. "Meet the king." "Oh wow. It's you. How was the mission completed? Frieza shook the red wine glass in his hand and said very comfortably. For him, it didn't matter whether the mission was completed or not, it was just a topic. Mu Chuan naturally knew it, and said without hesitation, the mission has been completed. Ararat has been sold in a package. I heard you also went to Sola's planet. As soon as Frieza said this, Mu Chuan immediately knew that the business was coming. Because I think I am too weak to help King Frieza, I want to take this opportunity to quickly improve my combat power. So I went to the planet Solas and asked the Sora people to build a gravity room. With the gravity man, I can practice better and improve my combat power. If my combat power is improved, I can also help King Frieza better. After Mu Chuan said this, Sabo and Paporia on the side narrowed their eyes. This abominable wild monkey actually knows how to flatter. You know, King Frieza really likes to hear these words the most. If the king is happy, it may make this wild monkey jump even more happily. Sabo knows that King Frieza will never be a new Saiyan. But Paporia is different. He is narrow-minded and hates others competing for favor in front of King Frieza. Therefore, he looks at Mu Chuan very displeased at this time. However, regardless of whether they have any objections or not, Frieza is extremely happy. Oh, wow. Not bad, you know how to share the burden for me. Then do you know where my destination is this time? Mu Chuan was stunned and shook his head quickly. Even if he knew, he dared not say it. After all, it was difficult to explain how he knew it. Instead of doing so, it is better to pretend that he doesn't know. Frieza continued, my destination this time is the planet of you Saiyans, Planet Vegeta. When he heard about Planet Vegeta, Mu Chuan showed a surprised expression at the right time. This scene was obviously noticed by Frieza. Frieza smiled. I need you to complete a mission. There is a huge group of ambitious people on Planet Vegeta today, and they are driving Planet Vegeta to destruction. These ambitious people are crazy and persistent, and they may lead the Saiyans to destruction at any time. Your mission is to make the Saiyans other than those crazy ambitious people sincerely follow this king. I wonder if you can do it. After Frieza finished speaking, his tail gently tapped his small aircraft, and the whole room seemed extremely silent. Neither Sabo nor Papalia dared to speak. Mu Chuan hurriedly lowered his head. If you look closely, you can see that there is a smile in his eyebrows. He was also preparing to form his own Saiyan team, and he really didn't know how to start, and he was in a dilemma. He never thought that Frieza would hand this opportunity to him. Isn't this just someone sending a pillow when you are sleepy? And it was so blatant. If he can't even do this with the Imperial sword in hand, then there's no point in him staying here. Besides, he also heard Frieza's request clearly. Ambitious people. Aren't they the Saiyans headed by King Vegeta? Apart from these, they can also be kept. This made his blood boil. Before he traveled through time, every time he cut the Dragon Ball, he was daydreaming, if the Saiyans had not been exterminated and developed normally, what a huge race they would have become. That is a real fighting nation. It's just that they didn't fully develop in the early stage, and they didn't find the right direction. If they were given the opportunity and time, they would even move in the right direction. This will be the most terrifying race in the universe. It used to be just a fantasy. But now it is possible, and it will all be created by him. How can he not be excited? But he suppressed his inner thoughts very well, and showed a little hesitation, and then looked up at Frieza. I will definitely complete the task. I will wait and see. The Frieza army drove slowly. Arrived at Planet Vegeta slowly. The entire army landed slowly. The logistics department of Planet Vegeta quickly received and guided the entire Frieza army to land. Planet Vegeta was originally called Planet Plant. The original inhabitants, the plant people, have extremely high intelligence and also have quite advanced technology. They are relatively weak and love peace. When the Saiyans landed on the plant planet, the plant people only wanted to coexist peacefully, but the Saiyans were an extremely barbaric race after all. Especially when the moon was full. When the moon was full, all the Saiyans turned into gorillas and wantonly destroyed the plant planet. During this period, the plant people were completely exterminated by the Saiyans who turned into gorillas. So far, they have monopolized the plant planet. Because King Vegeta was the first king of the Saiyans, he changed the planet to Vegeta Planet and also received the original technology of the Plant Planet. Otherwise, a barbaric race like the Saiyans would naturally not have such high technology. Frieza's army descended. All the Saiyans came out and looked at the huge army in the sky. All the Saiyans felt unprecedented pressure. That was the oppression from the Emperor of the universe. King Vegeta was the first to bear the brunt and led a group of senior warriors to greet Frieza. At this moment, King Vegeta still showed respect for Frieza. There is no trace of his ambition. However, barbarism has long been engraved in his bones, and it is impossible for him to always submit to others, even the so-called Universe Emperor Frieza, in front of the Saiyans. That is just a stepping stone. Oh, ha ha ha. Isn't this King Vegeta? It's been a long time since we last met. Frieza's classic opening line. King Vegeta frowned, feeling an inexplicable dislike for Frieza, and naturally became even more unhappy because he had ambitions. But now was not the time to turn against him. King Vegeta still behaved respectfully. Hello, King Frieza. Frieza did not reply, but just looked around and looked at these so-called Saiyan superior warriors, who basically had a combat power of nearly 10,000. If you can truly become a member of Frieza's army, it can also increase the combat power of the army. Seeing that Frieza did not reply, King Vegeta's face was ashen. Sabo stood up at the right moment and said, "On the way here, we just met a wandering Saiyan." King Frieza thought he was good and planned to train him well. And for so long, the Saiyans have been wandering outside the army. Now they come here not only to observe, but also to form a Saiyan team. Let the Saiyans truly integrate into the army. If there are people who look good, then recommend them all. At this time, Sabo signaled Mu Chuan to stand up. Mu Chuan was not timid, and stood up without hesitation, looking at his wild aura and the tail shaking behind him. The many Saiyans present instantly confirmed his identity. He is indeed a pure Saiyan. However, why he wandered is not known for the time being, but since he can be valued by Frieza, he definitely does not belong to their group. Even if King Vegeta is reluctant, he has to agree. We dare not disobey the king's order, but please give us some time. After all, we want to recommend more outstanding Saiyans to the king. Then you can do whatever you want as soon as possible. Sabo said indifferently. In fact, they are more here to find trouble. If the Saiyans really can't stand it, they can just find an excuse to destroy Planet Vegeta. Of course, if it is not necessary, they can still be used as mercenaries. After bidding farewell to Frieza, King Vegeta and other senior Saiyan warriors gathered together. At this time, everyone fell silent. They never thought that Frieza would be so aggressive. He even put forward such an irresistible condition. At that time, they wanted to explode suddenly. In the silent hall, a Saiyan took the lead in speaking and breaking the silence. What should we do? Do we really have to hand over our people to Frieza's rule? Why don't we rebel now? No, it's not the right time yet. We have to wait until he is completely careless before we can truly rebel against him. King Vegeta rejected their suggestion directly. In his opinion, it was not the right time yet, and Frieza and others were already a little afraid of them. They had just landed and had not let down their guard. If they took action at this time, the probability of failure was very high. Therefore, King Vegeta decided to hand over the imprisoned criminals to Frieza. Doesn't the wandering Saiyan want to form his own combat team? Then hand over all the criminals to him. They are all a group of unrepentant, vicious guys, and they are all low-level fighters. There are not many mid-level fighters. It is a waste of food to lock them up. Besides, they are all uncontrollable people. It is better to let them deal with it. King Vegeta's decision stunned all the Saiyans present. They never thought that King Vegeta would make such a decision. For a moment, I didn't know whether it was good or bad. The next second, another Saiyan said, "Wouldn't this help the evil? If those evil Saiyans are released, they will point the spearhead at us. Wouldn't that be bad?" King Vegeta was dismissive of this. They are just a group of low-level warriors. Although they have Saiyan blood, they are so inferior that they are about to be eliminated. They are useless even if they are used as cannon fodder. What's wrong with giving them to him? When King Vegeta said this, all the Saiyans present were silent instantly. Although they still had some concerns in their hearts, this was the best result. When Mu Chuan was told that he could go to select people, he already had some premonitions in his heart. For someone as strong as Frieza, he directly gave orders without any discussion at all, which made King Vegeta quite embarrassed. After all, he is the king of a race. But now he is bullied like this, what's wrong with him? The Saiyans shouldn't be that strong. When the Saiyan who led him took him to the prison, he suddenly realized that this might be his next team. Sure enough, King Vegeta will never be so kind. They are probably all a group of vicious guys, and they are all a group of lower-level warriors. He was not surprised by this, and he didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Although the Saiyans, a so-called fighting nation, are divided into upper, middle, and lower-level warriors by genes and combat power since birth. But this division is not accurate. It can also make their combat power stronger through acquired improvement, but most Saiyans have no idea how powerful their body is. It's a complete waste of their excellent bloodline. If he is allowed to lead, all the lower-level warriors can become existences that surpass the upper-level warriors, and even become a terrifying race in the universe. At this moment, he is already looking forward to it. Bang! The prison gate was opened, and the Saiyan who led Mu Chuan to the prison said coldly, "You can choose any Saiyan here. If you can tame them all, it doesn't matter if you take them all away." After saying that, he turned around and left without much hesitation. Mu Chuan didn't mind the other party's attitude. It would be strange if he had a good attitude. Now he is on the side of Frieza's army, which means that it is enough. In addition, his identity is almost equivalent to a traitor. Who will give him a good face? But he doesn't care. Anyway, it won't be long before Planet Vegeta will be destroyed. With King Vegeta's character, he will definitely not tolerate people. It won't be long. He will definitely rebel. At that time, he can really feel the oppression of Frieza. That is the power of the real emperor of the universe. Mu Chuan now set his sights on the prison, because the prison gate suddenly opened, all the criminals inside were surprised, and their eyes revealed murderous intent. Waves of powerful fighting power gushed out. A barbaric atmosphere rushed in. He. The prison door is actually open. Ha ha ha. Although I don't know what those guys are up to, since the prison door is open, we are truly free. And there is another guy here. From the prison, there came a series of evil voices. The voices sounded like they came from hell. One after another, powerful breaths came to my face. Very evil. Mu Chuan was calm. After all, he had long known what kind of vicious Saiyans he was about to face. At this time, data fluctuations began to appear in his detector. 1980. 0.1600. 0.1750. 0.2300. 0.2214. 0.1845. The highest combat power is 2300. It's really weak, no wonder it's a lower-level fighter. Although he had expected it, when he really saw the combat power value displayed by the detector, he also knew why King Vegeta and others were so generous. After all, they are all a group of lower-level soldiers. No matter how much trouble they make, they are just cannon fodder. However, he doesn't care at all. As long as they have Saiyan blood, he can build a very powerful army. But before building the army, he must first make these guys truly submit to him. After hearing Mu Chuan's muttering, the evil Saiyans who were originally very arrogant suddenly lost their temper. Although they are only lower-level soldiers, someone actually opened fire on them in the face. This is intolerable. He was immediately angry. Where did this little jerk come from? How dare he look down on us? It seems that I haven't appeared for too long, and people have forgotten our strength. Then let you know that level is not the only standard of strength. Neither is combat power. Among them, a Saiyan with a combat power of 2100 shouted arrogantly, and a wave of energy light suddenly condensed in his hand. Blast forward. Energy waves hit Mu Chuan one after another. Smoke filled the air. Ha 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 ha. You dare to look down on us, this time you go straight to hell. When he saw the energy wave hit Mu Chuan, his face suddenly became ferocious. But, a voice came out slowly, making him stiffen. That's it. If that's all you can do, then go die. A red energy wave penetrated the prison, and the entire prison collapsed instantly. The Saiyan who had just made a move was wiped out on the spot. There were quite a few Saiyans around who were affected. At this moment, it can be said that Mu Chuan had just made a move and took away a large number of evil Saiyans. The prison was demolished. He didn't hold back on these evil Saiyans at all. Only those who could survive were qualified to be his subordinates. As for those cannon fodders, whether they die or not depends on their luck. When the smoke dissipated, only a dozen Saiyans were left alive, but all of them were injured, and even showed painful expressions on their faces. The movement here had already attracted the attention of many people. However, there were only people watching around, but no one came forward, and Mu Chuan ignored the Saiyans and aliens around him. He looked at those injured evil Saiyans so coldly. Now I give you two choices. The first is to follow the group of guys just now to the west, and the first is to surrender to me. If I hadn't seen the Saiyan blood flowing in your body, with your fighting power, you would never be in my eyes. But King Frieza is kind, so you have the opportunity to regain your freedom and turn things around. If you don't know what's good for you, then I don't mind sending you on your way. If Mu Chuan said this at the beginning, he would definitely be laughed at, but his ruthless move just now shocked not only these evil Saiyans. Even the Saiyans and cosmic people who were secretly observing him were afraid of him. This is a master who is not afraid of heaven or earth. And he kills people at every turn. Facing such a ruthless guy, if there is no absolute need, then you must never provoke him easily. This is the idea of the onlookers. As for those evil Saiyans, they are extremely evil. If they can survive, they are willing to do anything. However, on this basis, they must have the power to control their lives. Mu Chuan can do exactly these things. Those evil Saiyans knelt on one knee without any hesitation. King, we will follow you till death. Yes, you have made the right choice. Mu Chuan looked at the group of Saiyans coldly. But your fighting power is too weak. Even in Planet Vegeta, you are the lowest level. I will take time to train you. If you can't persist or can't meet my requirements, I don't mind eliminating you. As for those who are eliminated, what will be the consequences? I don't need to say more. Facing this group of evil Saiyans, Mu Chuan will implement very strict rules. Although they are nominally Frieza's army, he needs to keep them firmly in his hands. Let these evil Saiyans become the sharpest blade in his hands. One day, he can even tear apart the army of the Universe Emperor Frieza. Facing Mu Chuan's words, this group of evil Saiyans were unmoved. They were living on the edge of a knife, and they lived one day at a time. During these days in prison, they were almost driven crazy. Now that they can regain their freedom, they naturally don't think there is anything wrong. Live one day and earn one day. Facing such vicious guys, Mu Chuan knew from beginning to end that he must not give them any good face. If he showed a little weakness, he would be really backfired by these guys. When these evil Saiyans were conquered, the evil Saiyan Corps was officially established. After a simple treatment, he led these evil Saiyans to the territory of Frieza's Corps. Oh, wow. From your looks, have you already conquered this group of Saiyans? Yes. Mu Chuan put his attitude very straight. Even though he had the sign-in system, he couldn't get rid of Frieza's control with his current combat power. Moreover, he hadn't signed in the special ability of the Frozen Demon clan from Frieza, and couldn't leave Frieza's army. Therefore, he still needed to stay by Frieza's side. Because of the sign-in system and gravity equipment, his actual combat power had already exceeded 20,000. It was only because of the suppression of the gravity equipment that his surface combat power was only 9,000, but even so, it was almost equivalent to King Vegeta. Not bad, you didn't let me down. Frieza looked Muchuan up and down, looking particularly casual. The evil Saiyans behind Muchuan felt an unprecedented sense of oppression at this time. They were originally lawless, but now they were instantly obedient. No matter how evil they were like well-behaved cats in front of the Universe Emperor Frieza. They didn't dare to breathe. Frieza looked at Muchuan and the evil Saiyans behind him, and then pressed the detector in front of him. The numbers on the detector floated. The combat power of each Saiyan was clear at a glance. Sabo and Papalia beside him also pressed the detector. 2100.2198. The highest combat power is less than 3000. It's a bit weak, but it's better than those cannon fodders. Facing the evil Saiyan that Mu Chuan had just subdued, the people present acted quite casually. After all, it was only a few thousand combat power, which could only be used as cannon fodder. But then, when the detector was aimed at Mu Chuan, the value on the detector soared instantly and suddenly exploded. Bang! A puff of smoke came out. What? Combat power 9400. Papalia exclaimed. Such combat power is very powerful. On the entire Vegeta planet, that is equivalent to King Vegeta. This wandering Saiyan they picked up was still a cannon fodder at the beginning. How could he have such a terrifying combat power in just a few days? This growth rate is too fast. Not only Papalia, but even Sabo was extremely shocked. The evil Saiyans behind Mu Chuan were even more surprised. They knew that Mu Chuan's combat power was very strong and he could easily kill them in seconds, but in their opinion, he was only at the level of a superior warrior. At most, his combat power was about 6,000. But they never expected that he could reach 9,000. This is too incredible. For a moment, everyone looked at Mu Chuan in surprise. Mu Chuan seemed relatively calm, because his current combat power was not just as simple as it seemed on the surface. The actual basic combat power has reached 20,000. If he uses Sabo to transform, his combat power can at least reach 30,000. But now he is not showing off. The detector can't accurately understand his combat power. But even so, it is still very shocking. Reflecting Frieza, he didn't seem very surprised, and even looked at Mu Chuan meaningfully. When Mu Chuan showed all kinds of strange looks, Frieza had already guessed. But the combat power of 9400 is still somewhat unexpected. Yes, it's worthy of my fancy to the Saiyans. Since you have formed your own Saiyan team, the original team naturally does not need to be taken care of, and your combat power is so strong, then I will give you a new task. Take over Planet Vegeta in the shortest time, no matter what method you use, I need all Saiyans to submit to this king. Frieza's tone was very calm, but everyone present could feel his unquestionable tone. Mu Chuan dared to believe that if he refused, he would turn into ashes on the spot. Therefore, he nodded and agreed without hesitation. Please rest assured, my king, I will do my best to do it, and all obstacles will be cleared. Okay. This king is looking forward to your good news. Oh ha ha. Frieza's decision has changed. I don't know if it was his existence that made Frieza change his mind, but as an insider, Mu Chuan dared to believe that no matter what he did, he would eventually stimulate King Vegeta. The so-called taking over Planet Vegeta is unrealistic in itself. That would only be the last straw that broke the camel's back. The rebellion will definitely unfold quickly, and then it will be back on track. He thought so in his heart, but he still had to do it according to Frieza's requirements. Of course, he planned to take this opportunity to win over a group of Saiyans and improve the strength of his evil Saiyan team. Although they are all lower-level warriors. But if they are trained hard, they can be on par with mid-level warriors. As for the future, they will have to take it slowly. Mu Chuan's goal is very ambitious. If the evil scattered army that follows him is stronger than Ginyu, then it will be considered to have reached the most basic standard. His ultimate goal is for everyone to become like Frieza, but this goal is arduous, and there is still a long way to go. Given the current situation, there is still no way to achieve it in a while. Come out of Frieza's main ship. Mechuan led his evil Saiyan army to a remote open space and took out the gravity chamber he had prepared. This is what he prepared from the beginning. Although the technological level of the Saiyans is backward, the technological skills of the indigenous residents are still there, so it is naturally very simple to create a gravity chamber. But the multiple of gravity is not high, only 50 times. But this can also make the Saiyans have a very significant improvement, not to mention it is also an emergency need. Soon, Planet Vegeta will be destroyed. No matter how good the equipment is, it is useless. After all, there is no way to take it away. All of you enter this gravity chamber and be the first to adapt to the 20 times gravity. Then you will practice hard inside for me. I want you to practice against each other. Treat the other party as your mortal enemy. Until the serious injury, there will be corresponding treatment methods, but if anyone dares to slack off, then I don't mind turning you into ashes. Facing a group of domineering Saiyans, Mechuan didn't think Wairu's methods were useful, so he said it so bluntly. Those Saiyans naturally did not dare to refute. They were already full of fear, and now it became clear from Frieza's mouth that their leader actually had a combat power of up to 9,000. This is an existence that is beyond their reach. How dare you talk nonsense at this moment? One by one, they entered the gravity chamber and looked for their opponents. Their opponents were all of equal strength, because they were all evil Saiyans, and they had no intention of holding back. The first move is a killer move. It was as if the other party had some kind of irresolvable hatred with him. Within a few minutes, the Saiyan was seriously injured and was dragged out. Seeing this scene, Muchuan expressed his extreme relief. Given the current situation, before long, the power of these Saiyans will become very powerful, truly breaking through the combat effectiveness of the so-called lower-level warriors. Muchuan watched from the sidelines, and from time to time he would go on to give all the Saiyans a harsh lesson, leaving his mark deeply imprinted on their minds and bodies. What he has to do is, even Frieza cannot erase his status and fear in the hearts of these evil Saiyans. This is his method of controlling these Saiyans. The evil Saiyans were trained for 2 days, and they were constantly recovering from injuries. Next to the gravity room, there were several extremely advanced treatment chambers. All of them were prepared for the Saiyans. During these 2 days, the combat effectiveness of this group of evil Saiyans increased rapidly. The highest combat effectiveness has reached 5,000, which is still not good enough, but it barely meets the standard. On the other hand, Muchuan's combat effectiveness has improved by leaps and bounds. Because during these 2 days, he did not stay with these evil Saiyans blindly. In addition to training from time to time, he spent more time with Frieza. Although he did not obtain the blood of the frozen demon, his combat effectiveness soared. Signing in for 2 consecutive days to obtain 100,000 combat effectiveness, which officially broke through 200,000 combat effectiveness. Host: Muchuan. Age: 16. Bloodline: Saiyan bloodline. Sign in. Already signed in can sign in randomly once a day. Combat power: 242,000. Skills: Transformation skill, Sabo, regeneration of broken limbs. Looking at the personal information on the translucent light screen, Muchuan knew that the time was ripe. His strength officially surpassed the Ginyu Force, and his combat team also reached the level of intermediate fighters. It's time to force King Vegeta. Everyone gather. Muchuan gave an order. Whoosh 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 whoosh. All the evil Saiyans arrived in an instant. Even the Saiyans who were still in the treatment cabin broke open with a punch and climbed out of the treatment cabin. In just 2 days, they have been able to follow orders. Muchuan was like a nightmare, deeply imprinted in their minds, and they dared not disobey any words, even if Frieza's terrifying strength brought them a huge pressure. But what he said was not as effective as Muchuan's. It's time to carry out the mission. We will take over this planet Vegeta. As soon as Muchuan finished speaking, all the evil Saiyans gave evil smiles. They were originally a group of crazy destroyers. In addition, they had been imprisoned by King Vegeta for such a long time, and they had long been resentful of King Vegeta. It's just that their strength is relatively weak. They have never been able to take revenge, and now the time is ripe, their own strength has reached the normal level of a mid-level warrior. With the support of Muchuan and Frieza. What are they afraid of? In a few days, King Vegeta has become much more haggard. Frieza's oppression is not only in action, but also in psychology. His inner pride is trampled and insulted bit by bit, making him, the King of Saiyans, very angry. It's almost reaching the critical point. At this time, a Saiyan reported. King, that wandering Saiyan wants to see you. King Vegeta's expression instantly became extremely ugly when he heard the report. He naturally knew who the wandering Saiyan was. A traitor Saiyan who stood in Frieza's camp. Let him in. I want to see what he is up to. Frieza can't teach him a lesson, but can't this ignorant guy be taught a lesson? Muchuan walked into the hall calmly, followed by a group of evil Saiyans. At this moment, his aura became more evil and violent. King Vegeta's detector kept ringing. His expression changed repeatedly. He was extremely angry just now, but he became extremely frightened unconsciously at this time. No. No. How is this possible? How can you, a group of lower-level warriors, have such high combat effectiveness? How did you do it? King Vegeta couldn't control his emotions. The group of evil Saiyans was too powerful, giving people a very terrifying oppression. The weakest one has reached 4,000 combat power. All added together, that is a very terrifying force. This is not over yet. King Vegeta aimed the detector at Muchuan, and the detector exploded instantly, without even getting the basic data. Although Muchuan has gravity equipment to suppress his own combat power, his leaked combat power has reached more than 40,000, which is why he is trying his best to suppress it. If he can learn to control his chi, then he won't have too many worries. After all, the stronger his combat power is, the more likely it is to attract Frieza's attention. With his current combat power, it is impossible for him to become a Super Saiyan. But he has a compromise. That is to perfectly control the state of becoming a gorilla, so that he can have 10 times the combat power of a gorilla while retaining his own state of not becoming a gorilla. If he can control it perfectly, almost yes, it is equivalent to a transformation. It can easily increase 10 times. This can also be regarded as his trump card. If Frieza attacks him, there is also a chance of escape. Of course, this is just his idea. Now he needs to consider King Vegeta in front of him. Seeing Mu Chuan approaching, King Vegeta roared, "You fool guy, are you willing to be controlled by Frieza? With your fighting power, you can definitely resist Frieza, why are you willing to be a dog?" King Vegeta couldn't figure it out. With such a terrifying fighting power, he is willing to be a knife in Frieza's hand. Why is this? In fact, even those evil Saiyans are a little curious. Mu Chuan smiled coldly, and the expression on his face showed coldness and disdain. Stupid, do you really think that the king's strength is only on the surface? Even if you become a gorilla, you can't match the king's finger, why resist? This time, the king asked me to take over the entire Vegeta planet. I advise you not to be stubborn, otherwise don't blame me for being rude. Then the Saiyan King can be officially replaced by the next one. Mu Chuan said recklessly. He knew clearly that any word he said might reach Frieza's ears. But no matter how careful he was, sooner or later, he would be afraid of Frieza, but he handled it very well. Although his strength increased very quickly, he always showed that he could not threaten Frieza. In addition, he was very honest. Naturally, there was time for development. The reason why he said these words was that he wanted to completely crush King Vegeta. Let him make a rebellious move. Sure enough. When he finished speaking, King Vegeta couldn't believe it. No. Impossible. No matter how strong Frieza is, he can never be this strong. We Saiyans are the strongest fighting nation. Since you want to be Frieza's lackey, you are a stumbling block in front of us. Although you are very powerful, so what? As a senior warrior, when you become a gorilla, you also have wisdom and reason. How can you compare then? King Vegeta smiled grimly, and a light gradually emanated from his hand. It was the artificial moon. When he threw the artificial moon into the sky, the rebellion officially began. A large artificial moon hit the sky, illuminating the Vegeta planet completely. All the Sanyas looked up at the sky at the same time. Plop, plop, plop. The beating sound seemed to resound throughout the planet. Roar. One after another earth-shaking roars rang out everywhere on Vegeta planet. Chaos. Saiyans turned into gorillas everywhere. Most of the lower-level warriors were completely irrational and destroyed everything around them. Even the middle-level warriors only retained a part of their sanity, but the upper-level warriors, because they knew that this was the order of King Vegeta. When the artificial moon was launched, this is exactly the beginning of the rebellion. The main purpose is to destroy the Frieza army. After turning into gorillas, all Saiyan's combat power soared 10 times. Ordinary cosmic people had no way to resist and were destroyed in an instant. The Frieza army was caught off guard. King Vegeta turned into a huge gorilla in front of Mu Chuan, but he was still a senior warrior after all, so he would not lose his mind even if he turned into a gorilla. He roared to the sky and punched out. The whole ground exploded completely. Mu Chuan dodged the attack with a flash. Hurry up and board the spaceship and enter King Frieza's main ship. You are just lower-level warriors. If you turn into gorillas, you will easily lose your mind. You don't need to worry about what happens next. Mu Chuan directly issued an order to let all the evil Saiyans board the spaceship and leave directly. Now King Vegeta has rebelled. Then Frieza will definitely take action, and he doesn't need to take action, otherwise it will easily cause misunderstandings. Many evil Saiyans did not doubt him. They covered their eyes one after another, fearing that they would also turn into gorillas after seeing the artificial moon. They still had self-knowledge. Turning into a gorilla is the last resort. What's more, they are lower-level warriors. Once they become gorillas, life and death are no longer under their control. As they boarded the universe one by one and the spaceship left, Chuan did not stay too long, and an energy wave hit King Vegeta's head. This bought him some time. On the other side, Frieza and others had already arrived in outer space, and he showed his signature smile as he watched the entire Vegeta planet like fireworks. Sabo and Paporia on the side folded their arms and admired the fireworks. What a bunch of stupid Saiyans. I don't know why there is such a legend about Super Saiyans. How can this race with a combat power of less than 10,000 be compared with the Frozen Demon Clan? Oh, ha ha ha. Destroy it. Go crazy. Whether the legend is true or not, there is no need for you to exist, just disappear. Even if the Saiyans become gorillas, their combat power is limited. Only a few top warriors can reach a combat power of tens of thousands. But even so, there is no way to destroy the Frieza army. Moreover, it is even more impossible for them to defeat Frieza. After all, Saiyans cannot survive in the universe. After King Vegeta turned into a gorilla, his combat power has reached 100,000. He took a step forward. He rushed out of Planet Vegeta at a high speed and appeared directly in front of Frieza. Frieza. Today is the day you die. Your oppression. I will give it all back to you today. King Vegeta turned into a gorilla and a huge blue energy wave appeared in his mouth, spraying directly towards Frieza. However, he underestimated Frieza too much. Frieza didn't care about this energy wave at all. He flicked his tail lightly and the energy wave was thrown away by him. Flying towards the farther universe. What? This is my most powerful strength. Now my combat power has reached 100,000, why can you block my attack so easily? Oh, ha ha. Frieza laughed happily, as if he had heard an international joke. 100,000 combat power. Just 100,000 combat power makes you so proud. Do you know that my combat power is as high as 540,000? How can you compare with me? When Frieza finished speaking, King Vegeta was completely stunned. He had calculated everything, but he didn't expect Frieza's combat power to be so terrifying. Up to 540,000. This is 5 times his combat power after he turned into a gorilla. Why is it so terrifying? Horror. At this time, he was desperate. Even though the energy wave in his hand had not stopped, he could not hurt Frieza at all. Frieza raised his finger, and the surroundings were instantly wrapped in purple energy, and the whole universe was filled with purple light. Stupid King Vegeta. Now let's destroy the entire Vegeta planet together. The energy ball was getting bigger and bigger. I saw that the energy ball instantly covered King Vegeta. King Vegeta had no time to react and was directly swallowed by the energy ball. Then he went to Planet Vegeta. But the next second, a figure appeared in front of the energy ball, pushing his hands forward, trying to stop the energy ball from hitting Planet Vegeta. Frieza. Why? All the Saiyans have bowed to you, why do you still want to destroy Planet Vegeta? This is Bardock, Sun Wukong's father. At this time Bardock's combat power is not just 10,000. The combat power has already exceeded 200,000. It can be said that although he is a lower-level warrior, the combat power he shows exceeds all Saiyans, and he can be said to be an alternative among Saiyans. And the golden legend that has been circulated was caused by Bardock. Chuan, who has been watching from the side, has already clearly known the trajectory of history. Although there are some deviations, the result will not change. Unless Bardock can truly become a Super Saiyan now. However, Bardock has not reached the limit of Saiyans yet. Even if he is angry, he can't become a Super Saiyan. And it is even more impossible for him. This is why there is no way to stop Frieza from destroying Planet Vegeta. Those evil Saiyans stared at all this in a daze. They are evil, but they are self-aware, watching Planet Vegeta about to be destroyed. The heart is extremely complicated. Moreover, after seeing the powerful posture of King Vegeta with a combat power of 100,000, and the terrifying figure of Bardock, even so, they can't last more than a second in Frieza's hands. Only then did they truly experience the horror of the Emperor of the Universe, Frieza. Frieza is so scary. I don't know which Saiyan couldn't help but say it, but he was greeted with silence. Witnessing the Saiyan's strong man being reduced to ashes, the shock to them was very great. Not to mention before their strength was improved. Now, their feelings are even more profound. Mu Chuan is no less than anyone else. He knows the horror of the Dragon Ball world better than anyone else. It's still the early stage and has not really reached a higher level. But even so, he dare not be careless. What's more, he has already felt Frieza's deep malice. Now he just ignores him for the time being. After the destruction of Planet Vegeta, their situation will be quite embarrassing. With my current combat power, it is impossible to become a Super Saiyan. Then there is only one way out. Master the perfect gorilla transformation. While improving the basic combat power, you also need to master the perfect gorilla transformation to increase the combat power 10 times on the original basis. This will allow him to gain a foothold in the universe. He won't become cannon fodder. Even if he has more than 200,000 combat power now, plus the use of skills to transform, the combat power is only 300,000 at most. This is far from enough. It is not enough for him to look at Frieza with equal eyes. Moreover, Frieza is only the boss in the early stage, and there will be more terrifying enemies in the future. Among them, there are enemies from different dimensions. If he doesn't grow up quickly, he really doesn't know whether he can survive in this Dragon Ball world. While he was thinking worriedly, Frieza laughed earth-shakingly, raised one hand slightly, and a purple light gradually emerged from his fingers. Then it became bigger and bigger. The universe was rippling. Everyone felt unprecedented pressure. Only to see the energy ball getting bigger and bigger, and it was instantly bigger than the spaceship, and it was still skyrocketing at this time. Everyone can feel the terrifying power in it. All the Saiyans showed a trace of fear, and looked up. The destructive power was thrown out by Frieza. The purple energy ball rushed straight to Planet Vegeta. Oh, ho, ho. Destroy it. You Saiyans. King Vegeta and Bardock had been dealt with before, and now there was no Saiyan on the entire Planet Vegeta who could stop Frieza. They could only watch the energy ball hit Planet Vegeta. When the purple energy ball entered Planet Vegeta, it was like a stone put into a cake, and it completely sank into Planet Vegeta. In an instant, cracks appeared on the surface of Planet Vegeta, and spread out, instantly filling the entire Planet Vegeta. At the same time, all the Saiyans on Planet Vegeta were instantly destroyed by this energy wave, and turned into ashes. Then a huge explosion sounded. Planet Vegeta was destroyed. Frieza was relatively calm at first, but with the destruction of Planet Vegeta, for some reason, he was inexplicably excited. Ha 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 ha. Look, Mr. Samo, Mr. Paporia. This firework is so beautiful. Oh, ha ha ha. With a long roar from Frieza, the entire Planet Vegeta was completely hidden in the entire universe and turned directly into dust. The original radiance was plunged into darkness at this moment. The Frieza army was all crazy. Everyone was laughing, as if they had seen something very interesting, which made everyone laugh. On the other side, the surviving Saiyans were silent. Although Mu Chuan had expected it, when he witnessed the destruction of Planet Vegeta with his own eyes, his heart was also unable to calm down. Because he knew. At the beginning, he was just an ordinary start, but after the destruction of Planet Vegeta, he would officially enter a hell-like start. No matter what he does, he may be afraid of Frieza. If he fails, he may be destroyed by Frieza. This gave him a sense of urgency. The other evil Saiyans also fell into a strange silence at this time. They really saw the result of being weak. So many powerful Saiyans have turned into gorillas, and their combat power has increased tenfold. But even so, there is still no room for resistance against the Emperor of the Universe, Frieza. And, after the destruction of Planet Vegeta, they are really homeless indeed. Rootless duckweed. Moreover, with the previous lesson in front of them, they suddenly didn't know what to do. They all looked at their leader, Mu Chuan. As if he felt everyone's gaze, Mu Chuan said at this time, "We are different from the Saiyans who were eliminated. We still have this little value." That's right. Mu Chuan said it so bluntly. Utilization value. If there is no utilization value, then there is no need for them to exist. Moreover, it is a suspicious person like Frieza. King Vegeta and others are not wrong. At this time, Mu Chuan said slowly. He knew that he had to let the Saiyans who followed him have a correct understanding at this time, Otherwise these guys might completely lose confidence and become ordinary cosmic people. He doesn't need useless Saiyans. The evil Saiyans were stunned. They dared to say such words at this time. Isn't this too bold? And he also said that King Vegeta and others did nothing wrong. But you have to know that King Vegeta was destroyed, and the entire Vegeta planet was destroyed. Isn't this wrong? As a Saiyan, a fighting nation in the universe, you naturally have to have your own pride and backbone, and you must not surrender easily. But his mistake was that he dared to attack at will before he figured out the enemy's strength, and he overestimated himself. If he has the strength to destroy the enemy, then his choice and approach are completely correct. Unfortunately, the winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. When Mu Chuan finished speaking, all the Saiyans behind him were silent for a moment, and naturally understood what he meant. Mu Chuan was not worried that these Saiyans would rebel. After all, it was thankless. After the destruction of Planet Vegeta, they were the only Saiyans left. Frieza could destroy Planet Vegeta at will, and he had opinions about the Saiyans themselves. If they didn't stick together at this time, they would die faster. The Saiyans present were relatively sensible and would not do such stupid things. And because Planet Vegeta was destroyed just now, no one paid attention to them. Instead, they were able to have a brazen conversation in public. Planet Vegeta was destroyed. Many astronauts returned to their respective spaceships, preparing to follow the main ship back. On the main ship, Frieza was still in a good mood. It's really wonderful. Isn't it? Mr. Sabo, Mr. Paporia. Yes, beautiful fireworks. Sabo and Paporia responded. Oh, ha ha ha. After waiting for Frieza to calm down, Sabo suddenly said, King Frieza, now that Planet Vegeta has been destroyed, the entire Saiyan race has almost been exterminated. Now there is only that wandering Saiyan fighting team left. What should we do with them? Sabo and Paporia knew that Frieza only saved the wandering Saiyan on a whim, and also wanted to discuss King Vegeta. Now that Planet Vegeta has been destroyed, those Saiyans are naturally useless. To avoid future troubles, Li Yin destroyed all the Saiyans. Frieza's tail gently touched the small aircraft. He was thinking, although the legend of the race says that Saiyans can become Super Saiyans. That is the ultimate nemesis of the frozen demon. But he was not really afraid, but still had some expectations and curiosity. If all Saiyans were really destroyed, wouldn't we not see the Saiyans in the legend? He was hesitating at this moment. Then, he seemed to think of something. By the way, if Planet Vegeta is destroyed, then the entire Legion will have fewer mercenaries, right? Yes. Sabo replied quickly. In that case, let these surviving Saiyans take over and let them earn more money for this king. Don't stop for a moment. Oh wow. This king is really a genius. Sabo and Papalia looked at each other, and they still had a little worry in their hearts. After all, the Saiyans are also very powerful and very difficult to control. Especially the appearance of Bardock, which has made them a little worried. What's more, Mu Chuan's combat power has soared in a short period of time, and now he is about to surpass them. How can they feel at ease? Seeing that Frieza was about to make a decision, Sabo made up his mind and took a step forward. King Frieza, I have a suggestion. I wonder if it is appropriate. Oh, Mr. Sabo, just say it. Frieza looked at Sabo with interest, looking forward to his next words. Recently, the border of the universe has been invaded by other forces, and it is relatively difficult. I think they should be sent to guard the border of the universe. We can't let other forces get away with it. Frieza's eyes condensed, and his momentum changed instantly. Although he often behaved very kindly, he was the emperor of the universe after all. How could he be easy to talk to? Not only the emperor of the universe, but also the biggest business in the entire universe, a real business tycoon. At this moment, someone dared to invade his universe. Isn't this a move on the tiger's territory? Who? Mecca team. Sabo lowered his head, because he knew what kind of reaction King Frieza would have after he finished speaking. He didn't dare to breathe. Crack. A crisp sound rang out, and only saw the small aircraft was cracked by Frieza's tail. It can be seen that Frieza was not calm in his heart. And he was also very angry. Interesting. Interesting. I see. Let the wandering Saiyan lead the other Saiyans to guard the border. If they encounter the Mecca team, just attack them. This king will bear all the consequences. After saying that, Frieza instantly lost his mood. The Mecha team is the first team under Frieza's brother Cooler, which is equivalent to Frieza's Ginyu Force. Possessing the most top-notch combat power. The strength to sweep everything in the universe. Now, this Mecha team actually invaded the border of the universe. Doesn't this mean that Cooler is ready to move? You know, the entire universe is ruled by the Frozen Demon clan, of which Frieza occupies most of it, while King Cold and Cooler are just a small place away from each other. But now, the Mecha team is out, and the information here is quite huge. When Mu Chuan heard that he and his men were going to be sent to the border of the universe, even he himself was stunned. He also heard that there was a Mecha team invading the border of the universe, which immediately made him feel quite not good. The Mecha team is not bad. The combat power is not too strong. It is only a few 100,000 combat power. For his current strength, it can be used as a whetstone. However, if you look at the problem so simply, you will suffer. You must know that behind the Mecha team stands Gyula. It is also a Frozen Demon clan. The monster with the most terrifying talent. The combat power of the complete form has reached 470 million. If he provokes Gyula, he really can't imagine how miserable he will die. Now he doesn't even dare to fight against Frieza easily. What about the more terrifying Gyula? When Frieza had never died once and didn't really understand the meaning of cultivation, his combat power was much weaker than Gyula. Even so, he couldn't fight against Frieza, let alone Gyula. Mu Chuan fell into a long silence. The evil Saiyans didn't know what they were about to face. They just saw their boss fall into silence, and even had an extremely ugly expression on his face. Then they had a sense of foreboding. Among them, a Saiyan asked cautiously, "Boss, is there any problem guarding the border?" "Oh, what's the problem?" Mu Chuan's expression was as gloomy as water. "It's a big problem. You know, it's the Mecha team that is invading the border of the universe now. Each of them has a combat power of more than 100,000. If it's just that, there is a more terrifying existence behind them, that is Frieza's brother, Gyula. That is a more terrifying existence than Frieza. If we really hit it on our own, there will be no bones left." Mu Chuan's voice just fell. The Saiyans were suddenly shocked, and the expressions on their faces could no longer be restrained. Don't blame them for being ignorant. After all, they are just low-ranking warriors, and because they violated the clan rules, they have been imprisoned. Naturally, they don't know what is happening in the universe. Besides, this is not an ordinary matter. How is this possible? Stronger than Frieza. And that Mecha team actually has a combat power of more than 100,000. King Vegeta only has a combat power of 10,000. At this moment, many Saiyans even felt difficulty breathing. Frieza had already made them feel breathless. They never thought that there would be a monster stronger than Frieza in this universe. And now, they have to face such a monster. Isn't this sending them to death? If Mu Chuan heard the inner thoughts of these Saiyans, he would definitely answer them directly. Yes. Frieza just wants them to die. It is obvious that because Planet Vegeta has been completely destroyed and Frieza's interest has been exhausted, they naturally have no use. When many Saiyans were shocked, Mu Chuan took a deep breath. He felt the time was more urgent. If he still hoped to move to Frieza, it would be a bit naive. Time is running out. It seems. I can't have a lucky mentality anymore. Sign in every day. I don't know when I can have the strength to not be afraid of Frieza. Instead of doing this, it's better to undergo special training for a period of time. Master the transformation of the perfect gorilla as soon as possible. Mu Chuan decided not to delay and set off immediately to get away from Frieza as soon as possible. At that time, he will not obey the orders of the army outside, and the farther he hides, the better. When his strength reaches a certain level, he will go to the border of the universe. Maybe with better luck, you can also sign in the blood of the Frozen Demon clan on Gyula. Or other means. If you are really unlucky, you will meet Gyula when you don't have the strength to fight against the Frozen Demon clan. At worst, you can put all the responsibilities on Frieza. Let them fight each other. After thinking everything through, Mu Chuan no longer felt such great pressure and slowly calmed down his heart. Looking at the Saiyans in front of him, they were still suffocating. There's no need to be so pessimistic. If it's just the Mecca team, I can handle it by myself, no need to worry. As for Gyula, we won't be so unlucky that we'll really meet Gyula. Besides, before going to the border of the universe, we will have a special training based on improving our extreme combat power. Mu Chuan not only has to perfectly control the transformation into a gorilla, but also has to make all Saiyans reach the level of the Ginyu Force. At the worst, there must be tens of thousands of combat power, right? Otherwise, it's easy to become cannon fodder in the universe. Although thousands of combat power is already quite powerful in the universe, if you're unlucky, you'll still encounter some relatively powerful monsters. There aren't many Saiyans now. Including him, there are only 13 left. This naturally doesn't include Vegeta and others. Even so, the number is already quite small. Once any Saiyan is lost, it will be very serious. After Mu Chuan comforted all the Saiyans, although this group of Saiyans were still half believing and half doubting, they were not in a hurry to find a solution. They could only choose to believe. When they were on a spaceship to leave Frieza's army, a system prompt sounded in Mu Chuan's mind. Ding! Time is up, automatic sign-in successful. Reward the Frozen Demon Clan with a transformation skill. Mu Chuan felt a surprise at first, and then countless question marks appeared on his forehead. What the hell? The Frozen Demon Clan has a transformation skill. What is this? He can understand the transformation skill, and even if he gets the blood of the Frozen Demon Clan, he can accept it, but this transformation makes him confused. He was stunned. But then when he learned about this so-called transformation from the system, he felt both surprised and regretful. It was rare to be able to sign successfully from Frieza, but the skills he could obtain were somewhat disappointing, which made him feel a little regretful. This transformation skill is really strong. It is much stronger than Sabo's transformation. It can double a person's combat power. Now his combat power is more than 200,000. Once he uses the demon transformation, his combat power will be 500,000. It is almost equivalent to Frieza's first form. You can see how terrifying this is. However, if he perfectly controls the transformation of the gorilla, then this so-called demon transformation will seem a bit useless. It doesn't even have any effect. However, he doesn't know whether this can be superimposed. If it can be superimposed, then his combat power will naturally be quite terrifying. But this still needs to be passed only through experiment can we understand. At this moment, because he signed in for the demon transformation, he felt that he would definitely have good luck on this trip. This is a good sign, maybe there will be better luck next time. With this thought in mind, he led all the Saiyans to fly towards the farther universe. However, his spaceship has a gravity room that has been configured long ago. During the space voyage, he naturally could not waste this time. Sign in every day, practice every day. When they flew away from Frieza's army, Sabo and Papalia kept staring at them until the spaceship completely disappeared in the universe. You are so cruel. You actually came up with such a bad idea to let them fight against the Mecca team, and it might also offend King Gura. Papalia said first. Although Papalia's combat power is not high, he is extremely favored by Frieza, so he has a high status. The same is true for Sabo. Otherwise, with their combat power, they are not enough to make suggestions in front of Frieza. Sabo did not refute Paporia's words, but said to himself, King Frieza may not attack this group of Saiyans because of his face. But these Saiyans are not simple. Although Planet Vegeta was destroyed, they are still a disaster. No matter how obedient they appear on the surface, they will bite back one day, and the combat power of that wandering Saiyan has long been unfathomable. I accidentally detected his combat power with a detector before. Before the detector exploded, his combat power value showed 58,000. When Sabo said this, even he felt quite shocked. Because at the beginning, they witnessed how miserable Mu Chuan was, and his combat power was only 2,400 at the beginning. When did it become so terrifying? He couldn't figure it out, and that's why he tried every possible way to get rid of these Saiyans. Help King Frieza to wipe out the roots. When Paporia heard what Sabo said, his mouth suddenly opened wide, and he was shocked beyond words. He wanted to ask a question in return, but saw Sabo's shocked face. He was speechless immediately. This might be true. No wonder Sabo proposed this. They are just a group of stinky monkeys, why do they have such terrifying fighting power? Paporia was extremely unbalanced. Mu Chuan has already felt the malice of Frieza's army. Although he thought he could escape directly, the universe is so big and dangerous that he could escape once and still have a second chance. Besides, Frieza is only the early boss. If he has to retreat even to this, he might as well find a place to stay and sign in. Why bother to climb to the top? After boarding the spaceship, Mu Chuan began the inhumane training. He didn't care about other Saiyans, but he had to ensure that his combat effectiveness was always at the top. You must always have a way to save your life. The multiplier of his equipment has already reached 10 times, but he didn't improve it because he felt that only by truly evenly applying force can the improvement be greater. Therefore, the gravity in the spaceship reached 20 times. Adding the two together, the gravity is quite terrifying. With his current combat effectiveness, it has made it difficult for him to move. It's like 200 times the gravity. But while practicing under this terrifying gravity, he could feel that he was improving every moment. Just doing a few push-ups would improve. It can be seen how excellent the blood of the Saiyans is. As long as they are willing to work hard, their combat effectiveness will definitely increase. He was practicing desperately. The entire Saiyan team did not rest comfortably in the spacecraft. In his spare time, Mu Chuan had already put on the so-called gravity device for all the Saiyans. Although the highest multiple is only 10 times, because on Planet Vegeta, time is limited after all, and there is no way to do better. But even so, the strength of all Saiyans can be steadily improved during the voyage, so that they will not be completely abandoned. 10 days passed quietly. The entire Saiyan team arrived at the border of the universe. At this time, they landed on a barren planet. This planet was barren, without any plants or animals, and it was all desolate at a glance. Even the air was extremely bad, but even so, they did not dislike it at all. After all, only desolate planets mean that there is no other creatures that will come, which is just the right space for them to practice. This planet is really desolate, no one wants it even if it is sold. One of the Saiyans said disdainfully. Every Saiyan has the idea of being a mercenary in their hearts. This is a long-term living habit that has shaped their character. Mu Chuan did not care about their words, but looked at the group of Saiyans and said, "Next, you will enter my spaceship to practice every day. If anyone dares to be lazy, don't blame me for being rude. In addition, I will collect the results every period of time. You all have to practice with me." When these Saiyans heard that they had to enter the gravity room to practice, they were not disgusted, because they had already been used to it. Even if they were wearing gravity devices. Only when they heard that they were going to practice with Mu Chuan, everyone present suddenly felt a chill and took 2 steps back. "Boss, there is no need for sparring, right? We will definitely work hard to practice and will never let you down." Facing the sparring, all the Saiyans present felt a chill, because every time Mu Chuan fought with them, he beat them to death. And they had no room to fight back. That was not called sparring at all, but a one-sided crushing. One-sided beating. Just think about being beaten up every once in a while. No matter who it is, there will be a shadow in their hearts. How can this be called training? What kind of training is this? Of course, Mu Chuan just thinks that their strength is too weak. Even with the speed of gravity potential improvement, the speed is relatively slow. With such weak strength, how can they practice with him? There is no improvement for him. It would be better to just beat them up unilaterally. Anyway, the Saiyan bloodline will have a very significant improvement in strength as long as it recovers from the moment of death. Even if they are low-level warriors, the improvement is very fast. It is precisely because of this method that everyone on Planet Vegeta can have the strength of an intermediate warrior in such a short time. Mu Chuan glanced at all the Saiyans, without saying a word, just watching silently. The Saiyan who originally wanted to argue was silent at this moment, turned his head and entered the gravity room. Because they are afraid to start sparring now. That would be really fatal. As many Saiyans entered the gravity room, Mu Chuan checked his current strength. He had been practicing hard during the space voyage. After adapting to the relative when the gravity reached a certain level, he immediately began to increase the multiple, allowing his body to undergo an overload exercise again. That's why he felt unprecedented fulfillment. Host: Mu Chuan. Age: 16. Bloodline: Saiyan bloodline. Sign in. Already signed in can sign in randomly once a day. Combat power. 822,000. Skills. Transformation skill, Sabo, regeneration of broken limbs, demon transformation. As the translucent light screen appeared, Mu Chuan looked at the series of combat power values on his information panel and was immediately surprised. Although he felt that his improvement was very rapid, and he signed in every day, he did not expect such a terrifying improvement. It actually reached 820,000 combat power. This has already surpassed Frieza's first form. If his demon transformation is added, the combat power will be as high as 1.6 million. Even if Frieza's second form is fully explored, he has enough strength to crush the opponent. Of course, this is not enough. This can only be said to be a little powerful in this universe. Facing a slightly stronger boss, he can only turn into dust. The strength is not strong enough. With the current basic combat power, it is impossible to become a Super Saiyan. Then I can only try to master the power of the giant ape. Once I master the power of the gorilla, my combat power will be 10 times higher. With such strength, I am getting closer and closer to escaping Frieza's control. Once I surpass Frieza, I will definitely lock up a few guys and treat them as sign-in objects. Sign in every day, and I don't believe there is no way to obtain the ability of the Frozen Demon Clan. Although Mu Chuan saw that his combat power was improving very quickly, he was very happy, but he felt that the basic combat power was not enough. There is still room for improvement. And he is more eager to control the power of the perfect gorilla, which is the foundation for his survival. At the same time, he fantasized about it. If he can really defeat Frieza, then he can make Frieza the material for his sign-in. Of course, he didn't dare to think about Cooler. After all, that guy's current combat power was as high as 470 million, even more terrifying than Frieza. Now he could only think about Frieza. Mu Chuan increased the gravity multiples of all the gravity equipment on his body, and immediately squeezed his combat power directly to 80,000. This also made him feel an unprecedented sense of oppression. At this time, he was practicing madly on this desolate planet, because there was no way to enter the gravity room, so he could only practice unscrupulously on the planet. The gravity room was too small, and now there were too many people crowded in it, so he had no way to practice in it and show his hands and feet. Therefore, it was more enjoyable to practice on the planet, and his combat power was also steadily improving, not only because of his own practice, but also because of the sign-in system. When luck is good, there will be tens of thousands of combat power occasionally. If the luck is a little worse, there may be only a few thousand combat power. But compared to him, this is already a very terrifying improvement. As long as he is relatively safe, he can wait until after the rebellion. But he knows that this is not very realistic. Not to mention that his life is limited. Even if he has hundreds of millions of combat power, he can only barely survive in the early stage. It is better to practice hard and master the skills unique to Saiyans. That is the real way to improve strength. Because there is such a crazy leader, those Saiyans dare not be lazy at all, and they practice hard all day long. Either they are beaten or they are on the way to be beaten. This also makes their combat power infinitely improved. The weakest ones already have 8,000 combat power, which shows how crazy they are, but now they seem to be dreaming. It's incredible that we, a group of low-level warriors, can have 8,000 combat power one day. I didn't expect it. Who knew that the leader would use such a method to improve our combat power so much? But, it's not just because of the gravity room, it's more likely to be the moment of being beaten every time. These Saiyans know very well that they can't improve much with their practice. On the contrary, every time they were beaten, although they resisted at first, after each beating, they could deeply feel the improvement of their fighting power. This made them feel pain and happiness. Although they said no, their bodies were honest. Before the sparring, everyone wanted to rush forward. But their bodies were flesh after all, and they were still a little bit overwhelmed by mortals, and the prepared nutrient solution was almost consumed. If they were not restrained, they might have to wait a long time to recover after being injured once. This is also the disadvantage of their training method. Of course, on this desolate planet, the only Saiyan who was not injured was Mu Chuan. After all, no one could hurt him. Even if he wanted to get hurt himself, it would be difficult. When all the Saiyans came out of the gravity room and looked at Mu Chuan, who was doing extreme sports in the distance, they couldn't help but stay and watch. The leader is really scary. His gravity device is estimated to have reached 50 times, and with so many gravity equipment stacked together, I really don't know to what extent he can suppress it. Even if it is suppressed to this extent, it can easily defeat us, which is even more terrifying. With such strength, it should be easy to deal with Frieza, right? To this day, they have not forgotten that when Frieza destroyed Planet Vegeta, they felt that terrifying pressure. But, although it has only been a month, their inner thoughts have changed a little, because they saw some more terrifying monsters. That is Mu Chuan, a pure Saiyan. He is covered with such terrifying gravity devices all over his body, and when the gravity devices are not removed, he has a very terrifying combat power. Over 100,000 combat power. This is something they dare not even think about. If all those gravity equipment are dragged down, how terrifying will the combat power be? I'm afraid it's not millions. Just thinking about it makes me feel extremely horrified. Wouldn't it be easy to deal with Frieza? Because they had such thoughts, they felt unprecedented ease in their hearts, and even didn't take Frieza seriously. As for their previous mission, they had already forgotten it completely. Suddenly, just as they were daydreaming, Mu Chuan appeared in front of them in an instant. You said it's easy to deal with Frieza. Who said that? Mu Chuan looked calm, and no one knew what was in his mind. What was he thinking about, but the feeling of being looked at directly made all the Saiyans present feel nervous. I always feel that something bad is going to happen. The Saiyan who just spoke raised his hand hesitantly. Although he didn't know why the leader suddenly came over, he had a hunch. He was going to be in trouble. Sure enough, when he just had this thought, Mu Chuan suddenly appeared in front of him, picked him up directly, and threw him to the side fiercely. What nonsense are you talking about? Aren't you too arrogant and arrogant? Do you really think that your combat power is lawless? Your combat power is just getting started, even the Ginyu Force can't compare to it. What qualifications do you have to be arrogant? Or do you think that my combat power is so strong that it can match Frieza? The reason why Mu Chuan suddenly appeared and interrupted his training was because he felt that this group of guys had become more and more lawless recently. There is a trend towards the Ginyu Force. This is not good. A group of noobs with such weak combat power dared to have such arrogant thoughts. They are not far from destruction. He would never allow this to happen. They must face the reality. The many Saiyans present were stunned for a moment, and didn't know why their leader did this. Mu Chuan snorted coldly and looked at the Saiyans in front of him silently. Your guess is right, my combat power has indeed reached millions. I can crush you with one hand. At this moment, hearing Mu Chuan admit that his basic combat power has reached millions, all the Saiyans present were extremely shocked. The expression on his face was extremely wonderful. Speculations are speculations, but after the person involved really said it, they felt unprecedented shock. My god. This is really too terrifying, it can reach a combat power of millions. Is this the level that Saiyans can reach? Although the entire Saiyans once called themselves a fighting nation, they dared not even think that they could reach this level. Even King Vegeta only has a combat power of 10,000, but now their leaders have reached a combat power of over 1,000,000. Doesn't this mean that the Saiyans will truly rise? Mu Chuan saw the expressions of the Saiyans, and he immediately knew that these Saiyans had never experienced a real beating. Or maybe they were short-sighted. In the vast universe, what does a mere 1,000,000 combat power count for? In some terrifying existences, 1,000,000 combat power is just cannon fodder. Moreover, this is only in the early stage. In the later stage, even the universe emperors such as Frieza and Cooler are not even qualified to be cannon fodder. Unless they practice hard for a few months. Mu Chuan shook his head slightly, his face full of disappointment. You disappoint me so much, but it's just a mere 1,000,000 combat power, have you really forgotten everything? Do you know the true strength of Frieza? The Saiyans shook their heads. They didn't know, and even the detector couldn't detect it. It was just based on feelings. Mu Chuan said bluntly, Frieza's current combat power is 530,000. Only 530,000. I don't know who said it. After all, when they knew that Mu Chuan had a combat power of 1 million, this 530,000 combat power was naturally not very impressive. Mu Chuan didn't care, because he knew clearly that the Saiyans in front of him had too little experience, so he naturally couldn't argue with them. But they also had to face the reality. In this bottomless universe, there are countless monsters, and they have to be full of awe for the Dragon Ball world. Even if he has a prophetic vision and a sign-in system, he dare not be careless. Always hold awe. It can be seen how terrifying the Dragon Ball world is. Only 530,000 combat power. Hey, that's just Frieza's first form. Frieza belongs to the Ice Demon clan, a race that possesses extremely terrifying power. And Frieza can be considered extremely talented in this race, and because of this, he possesses extremely terrifying power. Because his power is too terrifying, he can't control it for a while, so he sealed most of his power in his body, allowing him to have several transformations. Now the first form has 530,000 combat power, and the second form has millions of combat power. The third form has at least 4 million combat power. As Mu Chuan slowly popularized the combat power of Frieza's various forms, all the Saiyans present were stunned. Never thought. Frieza was so terrifying. The first form was already beyond their reach, and there were so many forms. This is worthy of being the emperor of the universe. Mu Chuan looked at the shocked expressions of the crowd. He was not ready to give up. He had to make these guys really understand that in this universe, anyone who is arrogant and conceited will turn into cosmic dust. In addition to the first three forms, Frieza has an ultimate form, which is his original appearance. In the initial stage, he has a combat power of 6 million. And as his appearance changes, his strength will increase accordingly. When he fully adapts, his strength will reach tens of millions of combat power. With such strength, what do you think you can use to defeat him? Mu Chuan questioned the Saiyans present. All the Saiyans were stunned, thinking about various data in their minds, and their brains shrank instantly. What kind of terrifying monster is this? No wonder it is called the Emperor of the Universe. If there is no such terrifying power, there is really no way to rule the universe. At this moment, they seemed to be under the oppression of Frieza again. Mu Chuan saw the performance of everyone and knew that it was almost over, but he did not forget to remind them. In addition to Frieza, there are many terrifying guys in the universe, and there are even more exaggerated ones than Frieza. Therefore, don't be arrogant and complacent. We still have a long way to go. Although we can grow quickly with the blood of the Saiyans, it takes time after all. For the universe, we must always be in awe, otherwise it will eventually turn into dust. His words were like a warning bell, ringing in the hearts of all Saiyans. At this moment, they also put away all their contempt and arrogance. Really examine yourself. I have to admit that their current situation is indeed very bad. Escape and can't escape, want to have the strength to fight, and feel suffocated. At this moment, Mu Chuan said at the right time, everyone doesn't have to worry, we have the blood of the fighting nation Saiyans flowing in our bodies. As long as we practice, we will reach the same level one day. And, during this period of time, IWE have also studied a transformation that is unique to us Saiyans. Once we master this transformation, our combat effectiveness will be increased 10 times on the basis of the original strength. What? Increase combat effectiveness 10 times. The Saiyans who were originally in a state of confusion were quite shocked when they heard Mu Chuan's words. There is such a transformation method. And it is unique to them. However, the Saiyans present are not stupid people. Some of them are quick-witted. Immediately thought of the special ability of the Saiyans, who can transform when they see the full moon. Boss, you are not talking about turning into a gorilla, right? Although that can improve combat effectiveness, for low-level fighters like us, once we turn into a gorilla, we will completely lose our minds. The combat effectiveness is improved, but after losing our minds, we will carry out endless destruction, and there is no way to control such combat effectiveness. This is of no help. Quote. When a Saiyan said this, everyone else was like a deflated ball. If that was all, it would be useless. If it was a mid-level warrior, they would not lose their minds. But they can't. The violent factor in their blood will make them completely lose their minds and become completely destructive monsters. By then, the enemy will be destroyed by them before they destroy the planet. Even if you have a powerful force, it will be useless. When many Saiyans were disappointed, Mu Chuan smiled. No. You only guessed half right. It is indeed a gorilla, but it is different from what you imagined. I mean that I have mastered the perfect transformation. Although it is a gorilla, it is transformed in the form of a human. Not only can you master the power of the giant ape, but you will not lose your mind at the same time, and your own combat effectiveness will also increase 10 times. This is a transformation I have recently researched. Everyone will learn it next. If we can really master it in this universe, we will have the power to protect ourselves. Quote. That's right. During this month, he not only improved his basic combat power, but also figured out the power of the giant ape. He mastered the real giant ape transformation. Many Saiyans were shocked when they heard Mu Chuan's words. There is such a method. If they can really control the power of the giant ape, their basic combat power will increase tenfold. Then all the Saiyans present can have the same combat power as the Ginyu Force. Truly become a powerful team in the universe. Can we, the lower-level warriors, master it? A Saiyan said unconfidently. It's no wonder that he is so unconfident, but when it comes to the full moon transformation, all summer warriors will lose their minds. This is common sense. Otherwise, all Saiyans have the trump card of transforming into gorillas, which is absolutely terrifying. Mu Chuan looked at all the Saiyans, and their faces had various expressions, including unconfidence, nervousness, expectation, excitement. He saw all of this. Don't worry, even lower-level warriors can master it, it just takes a lot of effort. Believe that you can do it. In the past, have you ever thought that your combat power can reach tens of thousands? Indeed, I never thought that we would have such a terrifying combat power. After all, lower-level warriors can't break through their basic conditions. A Saiyan nodded and agreed with it. This is the strength they dare not even think about. Now that it can be achieved, what else can't be done? Suddenly, many Saiyans present seemed to be injected with confidence, making them no longer so uneasy. Mu Chuan saw that it was almost time to get down to business, so he said calmly, "Next, I will show you how to possess the terrifying power of a giant ape. Of course, you also need to have a certain level of rationality when you become a gorilla, and maintain the human form on this basis. This is not only about possessing the power of a giant ape, but also maintaining the best combat form. There will be no obvious shortcomings in this form." He explained the doubts of many Saiyans present, and then he slowly adjusted the gravity equipment on his body to 0. Then he took off the gravity equipment. In an instant, a terrifying breath rose up. He felt unprecedented relief. Although he had not worn the gravity equipment for a long time, his combat power increased too quickly in this short period of time. For a while, he was a little uncomfortable. But soon, he gradually began to adapt to his current combat power. The breath exploded. The entire desolate planet trembled, and even a few cracks appeared faintly, as if the entire planet was about to explode. All the Saiyans were blown away. Even if there were beings with a combat power of tens of thousands, they were like ants at this time, unable to resist even the shock wave. It can be seen how terrifying this breath is. This powerful breath, such a terrifying sense of oppression, seems to be more exaggerated than Frieza. Is this the combat power that the leader can burst out? Many Saiyans were dumbfounded, completely forgetting the power of the giant ape that they needed to feel at this moment, and only deeply felt Mu Chuan's terrifying combat power. Combat power that breaks through the sky. Suddenly I want to know, what kind of terrifying level the head's combat power has reached. At this time, a Saiyan said, "No. Our current detectors are too backward and there is no way to detect such terrifying combat power. It will explode. Unless there is a new detector, but this is not something we can get involved in." So, they gave up. Although they were very curious, because the conditions did not allow them to see Mu Chuan's true combat power. After Mu Chuan took off the gravity device, he felt light and his combat power was gradually soaring, reaching the top combat power in an instant. Although the system numbers have been displayed, this did not give him an intuitive consciousness. At most, he only knew what level his combat power had reached. How terrifying is this level? He didn't know. At this moment, he felt it. His combat power stayed at 1.3 million. Equivalent to Frieza's second form. If he uses the giant ape transformation, then his combat power will reach 13 million. Although she can't compare with Frieza, she already has the most basic strength, and even once she has mastered the skills of becoming a Super Saiyan. Then, he dares to compete with Frieza. 1.3 million combat power, so strong I feel like even if Ginyu is in front of me, I can crush him with just one finger. So powerful. But it's just that his combat power is increasing rapidly, and his combat means are still slightly lacking. The sign-in system is not very powerful. Mu Chuan was slightly disappointed. His combat power is indeed very strong, and his strength has broken through the sky, but his combat means are extremely simple. He fights completely relying on his own strength. If he is asked to learn, it will be really difficult. But the sign-in system is not very powerful, which makes her feel extremely helpless. She can only wait until her combat power reaches a certain level and then push through directly. Sweep everything. After feeling the full force for the first time, everything gradually calmed down, and said to the many Saiyans who had not yet fully recovered. See clearly. Take a close look at how I did it. You will also try next, not to mention that on this desolate planet, don't be afraid of destroying the planet. Quote. It happened in a flash. His body swelled up instantly and turned into a giant ape, but then shrunk quickly and slowly, maintaining the form of a human. However, there was a red light around him, and a very violent aura filled the air, as if it could shake the entire planet. His aura completely increased by 10 times. Even though he had already mastered the power of the giant ape, his emotions would become more violent whenever he used the power of the giant ape. The violent aura filled the air, but he was not affected by it, and glanced at the Saiyans from a distance. They were like being immobilized on the spot. Unable to move. This is the power of the giant ape. Maintaining the human form after becoming a giant ape. Not only can this increase the original basic combat power by 10 times, but it will also not be as slow as the giant ape. As long as we have such a transformation, we Saiyans will be able to gain a foothold in this vast universe. Quote. But there is one thing, that is, after the transformation of the giant ape power, the inner irritability and violent factors will soar sharply. If you are not careful, it may destroy the planet. This also requires adaptation. After using the power of the giant ape, Mu Chuan was still explaining slowly. After all, these are all his team. The stronger the strength, the more troubles he can solve for him, and he can focus on cultivation. There is no need to worry about the secular world. Seeing the earth-shaking power, all the Saiyans present were immediately excited. Without a goal and hope, that is the most helpless and desperate. But now, their heads have given them a good start. What's more, the road has been pointed out to them. If they still can't do it, it can only be said that it is their own problem. Mu Chuan put away the power of the giant ape, and he took a short breath at this time. Although it can indeed increase the combat power by 10 times. But it also requires physical strength. If there is no way to adapt, it will also be more disadvantageous in the battle. It seems that I can't just know the power of the giant ape, I have to be proficient in it, otherwise once I use it in a fight, I may not be able to hold on for long. This time he discovered his own shortcomings. Whenever he found the shortcomings, he would not delay at all, and was ready to correct them quickly, try the power of the giant ape more, and wait until his body got used to it. The length of time he can transform has become longer. Afterwards, he gave all the Saiyans the specific methods and operations. After teaching, he picked up his gravity equipment and went to the other side of this planet. He was just too strong and was afraid that it would affect others. What's more, every time he transformed into a giant ape, it would cause a huge turbulence. Try to stay as far away as possible. Next, Mu Chuan kept trying to see how long he could last. Every time he used the power of the giant ape, he had to hold on to the limit. This not only allowed his body to adapt, but also squeezed his potential. In his opinion, the Saiyan body was very durable. What's more, he had special skills. Rebirth of broken limbs. This was also his confidence. It didn't matter if he had broken hands and feet. As long as he didn't die completely, they would become the source of his power to become stronger. Feeling the terrifying violent power coming from afar from time to time, many Saiyans present looked at each other. At this moment, they all felt infinite pressure. The leader is practicing so hard, so how can we be lazy? If we don't grow up, there is no way to share the burden for the leader. We are still too weak after all. In the past, they did think that their own strength was very strong, but after Mu Chuan's popularization, they realized how ignorant they were. They actually thought that a combat power of tens of thousands was already very powerful. Now that they have woken up, they wish they could soak in the gravity room all day. Of course, controlling the power of the giant ape is also very important. Then, while all the Saiyans were madly improving their combat power, they were also trying to control the power of the giant ape. The only thing that was difficult for them to crack was that they had no way to regain their sanity when they turned into giant apes. This is the difficulty they need to overcome now. Once they can overcome it, they will truly control the power of the giant ape. But even if they don't control it, their combat power is gradually improving. Gradually. 10 days have passed. All Saiyans have a combat power of over 10,000, which is quite terrifying. Any one of them is equivalent to the former King Vegeta. However, they are not proud of this, but practice more vigorously. Because their leader is on the other side of this wild planet. Even with such terrifying power, he is still practicing desperately at this time. This is spurring them all the time. At the same time, on the other side of the distant universe, in Frieza's army, Frieza rarely asks Sabo, "How long has it been? The wandering Saiyans have reached the border of the universe now, right?" Sabo lowered his head. More than a month has passed, and they have already reached the border of the universe, but they have been on an uninhabited planet. According to the display on the detector, they seem to have been practicing. Moreover, the combat power of all Saiyans has increased very rapidly. According to the data just displayed in the detector, each Saiyan has a combat power of tens of thousands. They are already equivalent to the former King Vegeta. You don't know until you see it, and you will be shocked when you see it. Even Sabo just learned the news. When he just learned the news, he knew it was going to be bad. If their strength remained the same, they had been wasting their potential and honestly being a salted fish, then perhaps Frieza would not pay attention to them. But now, their strength has skyrocketed so rapidly, and in a short period of time, all the members have a combat power of tens of thousands. This will definitely attract Frieza's attention. Sure enough. I saw that the power under Frieza's feet increased a little bit, and the ground made a crisp sound, followed by countless cracks. Oh, ho. Interesting. It's really interesting. It can reach a combat power of tens of thousands in such a short time, and it's all members. Very good, right, Mr. Sabo. At this time, Sabo and Papalia didn't dare to speak. They often served Frieza and understood Frieza's character better than anyone else. He was definitely angry at this time. And it has aroused a lot of vigilance. Perhaps, at this time, the rumor circulated by the Frozen Demon clan was recalled in his mind. Super Saiyan. Even those lower-level warriors have a combat power of tens of thousands. Doesn't that mean that the combat power of the wandering Saiyan they rescued will be even more terrifying? Will he become a Super Saiyan? He was not sure, but as long as there was a chance, he would never let it happen. The cabin fell into silence. After a long time, Frieza slowly said, "Aren't they going to practice? It just so happens that just practicing is not enough. You need to have a little training object, so that you can be familiar with your own power. Mr. Sabo. Mr. Papalia. Transmit their geographical coordinates to Gyula, and tell him that my army has been stationed on this desolate planet. If Gyula dares to let the Mecca team cross the border again, then don't blame me for being rude." Sabo and Papalia looked at each other, and at this moment they couldn't help but take a breath of cold air in their hearts. The king was really angry. And at this time, he used the method of borrowing a knife to kill people. Not only did he want to use King Gyula to deal with the group of Saiyans, but he also wanted to warn King Gyula. The two did not dare to disobey and followed Frieza's orders. First, a warning was issued, and the specific geographical location and coordinates were also issued. Gyula, who was far away in the universe, received the warning from Frieza. The distant frontier of the universe. On a huge spaceship, a member of the Frozen Demon clan who looked like Frieza heard the news from his subordinates. For the first time, a trace of anger appeared on his expressionless face. This is cooler. The genius of the Frozen Demon Clan. Frieza's brother. Good. Very good. Stupid Frieza, you dare to send a message to warn me. In this case, I will kill all your people. I will teach you a lesson in person again, so that you can clearly know that as your brother, you cannot disobey me. Cooler was truly oblivious to Frieza's warning. After all, the mecha teams under his command were extremely powerful. Any one of them was stronger than the captain of the Ginyu Force in Frieza's hands. Wouldn't it be easy to sweep across? As for Cooler himself, his strength was even more terrifying, and he had one more transformation than Frieza. This is simply a crushing victory. With a clear geographical location and coordinates, Gyula directly dispatched the mecha team, and all members went there. And he set off in the direction of Frieza. Frieza didn't know that his actions directly attracted Gyula, and at the same time he would be greeted with a loving education. Mu Chuan didn't know the turn of events. Instead, he kept practicing. As he performed the giant ape transformation countless times a day, he had truly mastered the giant ape transformation. He could transform in a thought. At the same time, it would last for a very long time. Even if he was exhausted, his combat effectiveness would not quickly drop to the freezing point. Of course, his combat effectiveness was also continuously improving. Not only his combat effectiveness was continuously improving, but the strength of other Saiyans was also improving, but the improvement was relatively slow. Because of the efforts of this group of Saiyans, two Saiyans have truly mastered the power of the giant ape, but it may be because they are inferior warriors. Even if they have mastered the giant ape transformation, they still appear to be particularly violent after the transformation. There is a lingering edge of losing control. But fortunately, they can barely control themselves, but once a very fierce battle is carried out, they may really lose their minds while fighting. This is indeed unavoidable. Mu Chuan has no way. This can only rely on them to practice more and get used to it. On this day, they practiced as usual. However, at this time, there were 3 circular spaceships that directly smashed on this desolate planet. This immediately attracted the attention of all of them. Is this the spaceship of Frieza's army? No way. How could Frieza come here at this time? And, coming to this desolate planet at this time, then the target is not us. This planet is so desolate, if there is a targeted purpose, then it can only be them. When they were extremely confused, Mu Chuan came to their side in an instant. Just now, he also felt a strange breath approaching, but because he could not control the breath, he could not make an accurate judgment. But he felt that the newcomer was quite powerful. They were all watching the 3 spaceships from a distance. A whistle sounded. The hatch of the spaceship opened. The first person to come out was an alien wearing a combat suit, all blue, and with yellow hair. Following closely was an alien in a khaki suit, and then a guy with a green body. These 3 people were definitely aliens. When the other Saiyans saw these 3 people appear, they immediately felt that if they were not sent by Frieza, then they were related to Frieza. The combat suits and detectors. Only Frieza's army had them. However, Mu Chuan was slightly stunned when he saw these 3 people appear, because he had recognized these 3 guys. Isn't this the Mecca team? Captain Zaviza, team members Nez and Dre. This is a powerful team in Gura's hands. Even stronger than the Ginyu Force. Because the captain of the Ginyu Force, Ginyu, once competed for the captain of the Mecca team, but because he was defeated by Zaviza, he had to settle for the second best and chose the Frieza army. Finally, the Ginyu Force was established. In the final analysis, the Ginyu Force is actually a level weaker than the Mecca team. Seeing the appearance of the Mecca team, Mu Chuan didn't know why he came to them, but he felt that these guys came just in time. Just in time to let these Saiyans see blood. Mecca team. It seems that I can't practice with peace of mind anymore. This place has been discovered by Gyula. Quote. Mu Chuan said calmly, and what he said was just to tell the Saiyans present the identity of this group of guys. When the Saiyans heard the identity of these people, they immediately became alert. After all, that was the ace team in the hands of Frieza's brother. This must not be underestimated. What's more, they also knew clearly that Frieza had an ace team in his hands. That group of guys is very terrifying. The combat power is the best in the entire Vegeta planet, even King Vegeta is not a match in front of them. Even if their strength has become very strong at this time, Facing such a terrifying existence, they dare not be 100% sure that they can win. When Frieza walked down, looking at the group of Saiyans with tails opposite, a disdainful smile appeared on his face. You are the ones sent by King Frieza to deal with us, right? I didn't expect King Frieza to be so stupid that he would send such a group of monkeys over, which means he trusts you very much. Quote. It's a pity. Although King Frieza is very strong and can be compared with King Cool, he really underestimated me. We are the trump card in King Cool's hand, the Mecca team. As they talked, the three guys began to dance in a weird way, and when they were introduced again, they even posed. The scene seemed to fall into silence. But the three members of the Mecca team didn't think so. Frieza shook his hair and gently pressed the detector in his hand. 10,700. 0.12400. 0.16000. 0.13120. It's interesting. I didn't expect that you monkeys could have such a high combat power. All of them have reached tens of thousands. It's a pity. If you met other teams, you might have a very strong dominance. But you are unlucky to meet us. Quote. Dre laughed recklessly. It can be said that in the entire Mecca team, his fighting power is the most terrifying. However, he was not the captain, and he did not value the position of captain. The captain must not only have strong strength, but also have a smart mind. Among the three of them, it is Frieza who has a certain brain. As the captain, the candidate is naturally well-deserved. Facing the unscrupulous ridicule of the Mecca team, the Saiyans present frowned, and a burst of anger suddenly gushed out. Speaking of monkeys all the time, this is simply an insult. No one can stand it, but before Mu Chuan spoke, they did not act rashly. Directly ignored the ridicule of the Mecca team. Seeing that many Saiyans dared to be angry but dared not speak, Frieza and others became even more arrogant. One after another, unscrupulous words came out, making the atmosphere on the scene even more heated. The scene was extremely depressing. Mu Chuan still had a calm face. The reason why he didn't speak was because he was thinking. Although these Mecca teams had come here, Gyula already knew their coordinates. But knowing it was knowing it, with Gyula's arrogant character, he would never end it easily. Now, as long as Gyula was far away from here, then the entire Mecca team would be destroyed, and then they could run away quickly, or directly frame Frieza. Anyway, their current identity is Frieza's subordinates. This is just right. After thinking about it, he felt that there was no need to worry too much, and solve it as soon as possible. At worst, they could just evacuate at that time. At this time, all the Saiyans could no longer bear it. The Saiyan with the strongest fighting power said, "Boss, let us take action, these guys are not worth your effort. Let us deal with them. These guys are so foul-mouthed, we won't stop until we tear them apart." The rest of the Saiyans echoed. Although their fighting power is only over 10,000, at least two of them have mastered the power of the giant ape. Once used, their fighting power will exceed 100,000. This is already a very terrifying fighting power. As for the rest of the Saiyans, they are naturally not enough, unless they can truly control the power of the giant ape. But this is not something that can be done overnight. I wanted to deal with the Mecca team, but now I heard the Saiyan talking, but Mu Chuan spoke at this time. Go, test your results. Take these three guys as your training targets, show all your skills, and the same goes for others. Let them truly build your control over the power of the giant ape. Remember, I don't want trash. As soon as he finished speaking, all the Saiyans present did not feel pressure, but instead showed a ferocious smile, and an evil aura immediately spread from them. They were originally evil Saiyans. If they had not encountered too many things during this period of time, they would have restrained themselves. Otherwise, they would still be that group of evil guys. The leading Saiyan was named Karl. His basic combat power was 16,000, which was the highest among all the Saiyans present, and he was also one of the two people who mastered the power of the giant ape. Among all the Saiyans, except for Mu Chuan, he was almost the second in command. Respected by other Saiyans. Strength is one, ability is the second. Your mouths are so stinky, I just wanted to tear your mouths apart. Now, here comes the chance. Karl showed a ferocious smile on his face, not giving the other party any chance to speak. His body began to swelled to the size of a giant ape, and then his body began to shrink slowly, turning into the shape of a human. Then, a very terrifying breath burst out from his body, and red energy surrounded him. The evil power spread. This red was not bright red, but dark red, and there was a hint of black in it. When Mu Chuan saw this scene, he was a little surprised. This guy is so different when using the power of the giant ape. Does it mean that it is different according to each person's personality and their own energy? They were quite evil at the beginning and had a very violent factor. Now that they use the power of the giant ape, this power seems to be instantly amplified countless times. To be able to control this evil power, he is really good. I just don't know what to gain from this battle. Mu Chuan is looking forward to it more and more. He is not afraid of his subordinates' extreme irritability and evil. After all, he also knows that Saiyans themselves are full of manic factors. If they want to become so-called pure and kind, it is not realistic. Only Sun Wukong, who hit his head, can show such pure and kind. The rest of the Saiyans, to put it bluntly, are evil. To put it nicely, they are arrogant. As Karl used the power of the giant ape, his combat power instantly soared 10 times. The combat power reached 160,000. Following closely behind was another Saiyan Greta. He was another Saiyan who could use the power of the giant ape, but his fighting ability was slightly weaker. Only 13,120. However, when he exerted the power of the giant ape, his combat power directly reached 130,000. This has surpassed Ginyu. When the Mecca team saw their combat power, it suddenly became so terrifying. The detector kept ringing, and finally their actual combat power really emerged. They were shocked. Dre said in surprise, "Why did the combat power of this group of stinky monkeys increase 10 times in an instant? Just now they seemed to have turned into giant apes, but for some reason they regained their human form again. Could it be related to this?" Frieza guessed. "I heard that once the Saiyans turn into giant apes, their combat power will increase 10 times on the basis of their original combat power. The combat power they show now may also be related to this." After a little surprise, they analyzed the information they obtained, and finally guessed it almost right. But even so, in their opinion, it was only 130,000 and 160,000 combat power. Not enough to fill the gaps between teeth. The most powerful Karl can only be compared with the weakest Nez. As for the more powerful Frieza and Dre, they can completely crush all Saiyans. Besides, only 2 of them have mastered the power of the giant ape. The battle is about to start. Karl took the lead in pinching out an energy light ball with both hands and smashed it directly towards the Mecca team. Greta was also unwilling to be outdone. She came in front of the opponent in an instant, and attacked with a knife, cutting across. However, it happened in a flash. The Mecca team seemed to have anticipated their attack. Frieza crossed his hand and bounced the energy ball away. Then, silk threads gradually began to emerge from his hand. Silk threads sprayed out. Finger light, his specialty. Then he disappeared in an instant and appeared directly behind Greta, cutting across with a knife, trying to give Greta a chance. However, he overlooked that it was not just the 3 members of the Mecca team against Karl and Greta. The Saiyan energy wave rushed over from the other side. Although it did not cause much damage, it was enough to interfere with him, which also allowed Greta to avoid a crisis. HMPH. You escaped. But if you can dodge once, how many times can you dodge? We are not exerting our strength now. Frieza said coolly. It can be said that they did not show their full strength. The attack just now was just their passive attack. And he was the main force. If Dre took action, it would be even stronger. And the combat power of the 3 of them is as high as hundreds of thousands. This is a truly terrifying ace team. At this moment, Karl and Greta have clearly felt the gap. They can't fight with just the 2 of them. In the previous confrontation, they have been suppressed and fell into a disadvantage. This can't go on. I saw the 2 of them looked at each other, and then looked at the Saiyans in the distance. Although their combat power is indeed good, they have no way to master the power of the giant ape. There is no way to participate now. For a while. They were in a dilemma. Mu Chuan saw the disadvantage they were in from a distance. He knew that even if 1 or 2 people mastered the power of the giant ape, it would be unrealistic to fight against the Mecca team. The Mecca team was too strong. What's more, They were brave and good at fighting, not just useless people with fighting power but no fighting instinct. Now, it depends on how they choose. If only 2 people mastered the power of the giant ape, there would be no way to deal with it, but if more people mastered the power of the giant ape, it would not be impossible. If many Saiyans present wanted to break the situation, then only more Saiyans could master the power of the giant ape, although their fighting power was not higher than that of the Mecca team. But they had the advantage in numbers. They could still deal with it, and the Saiyans themselves became more and more courageous in battle, otherwise why were they called a fighting nation? Mu Chuan looked forward to their choice. But he was stunned by their actions in the next second. One of the Saiyans held a white ball of light in his hand and shot it directly towards the sky. That was the artificial moon. During this period of time, it can be said that all of them have truly learned how to make the artificial moon, in order to avoid emergencies. Originally, they were not going to use it, but now if they don't improve their combat effectiveness, there is no way to fight against this mecha team. Even if they lose their minds, what's wrong? All the Saiyans looked up at the artificial moon in the sky. Plop, plop, plop. Like a heartbeat that shook the sky. Those Saiyans turned into giant apes one after another, and the giant apes roared to the sky, and the entire desolate planet was shaking. The 3 members of the mecha team who just looked indifferent were now cautious. If they were still a little cynical just now, they are now really serious, because when all the Saiyans become giant apes, their combat effectiveness will double. Once 12 terrifying monsters with a combat effectiveness of more than 100,000 are united, they feel that they are already in danger. A bunch of stinky monkeys. They turned into monkeys when they couldn't beat them, but their fighting power has increased 10 times. Although they have completely lost their minds, we have to guard against them. The Saiyans who turned into giant apes were destroying the planets in the wilderness at this time, and would attack the mecha team from time to time. But most of them destroyed the planets. Carl and Greta couldn't care less, and they kept circling around, and always surrounded by a few giant apes. This could also relieve them of a lot of pressure. Sometimes these giant apes would even attack the mecha team, which really annoyed Dre, and a powerful energy wave directly hit one of the giant apes. Then he gave up Carl and Greta. Just catch a giant ape and beat it. Dre. Captain, don't worry about me, these stinky monkeys are so hateful, I have to kill them all. He was angry. He didn't even listen to Chavez's words. He left the team directly, but because of this, the pressure on Carl and Greta was instantly reduced. The strongest fighting force left the team, and they only needed to fight face to face, without being attacked from the front and back. This is simply the best. The battle lasted for a while, and it can be said that the performance on the scene was extremely tragic, and most of the giant apes were beaten severely. However, perhaps because they were confused by the situation, they did not notice the changes in the field at all. On the contrary, Mu Chuan, who had always been an outsider, was watching with interest at this moment, and even had a hint of expectation. He saw the anger of the giant ape. Don't underestimate the giant ape's anger. Once they are angry, they may regain their sanity, which means that they will also master the power of the giant ape. Even if they are not completely in control, it is much better than losing their sanity completely. How stupid. If we solve the Saiyans directly, there won't be so many things. The angry Saiyans are really scary. As if to verify his statement. The giant ape, which had been beaten to pieces, roared, and a dazzling light suddenly emanated from its body, which was also dark red. Under Dre's horrified eyes, all the giant apes actually began to shrink slowly, and finally returned to human form, but the very evil aura on them did not dissipate. However, they have truly mastered the power of the giant ape. This scene caught everyone present off guard. Whether it was the mecha team or Carl and Greta, they were still tired of fighting. Now that this situation appeared, they couldn't help but show a trace of joy on their faces. This is just the right time. Ha 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 ha. You 3 fools, you're done. This time you're really done. When all of us have mastered the power of the giant ape, what are you? Carl laughed loudly, looking particularly unscrupulous. After all, he had been suppressed and beaten just now, and he seemed quite aggrieved. Now all his brothers have mastered the power of the giant ape. The fighting power has skyrocketed. Then, the Saiyans who have mastered the power of the giant ape joined the battle. Although they also seemed particularly irritable, they still had a trace of rationality, and the battle was almost one-sided. A dozen terrifying Saiyans with a fighting power of more than 100,000 were more than enough to deal with a few slightly powerful Mecca teams. The battle ended not long after. The Mecca team had no way to resist the attack of this terrifying Saiyan, and with Mu Chuan's nod, they directly killed the Mecca team. No more trouble. Otherwise, if something goes wrong, it will be a lot of fun. Good. Good. After this battle, you have all mastered the power of the giant ape. Finally, you have a little trump card. Looking at these Saiyans who have been reborn, Mu Chuan couldn't help but praise them. Carl, who was so fierce in the battle just now, seemed embarrassed at this time. Thanks, boss. If it weren't for you, we would still be a group of low-level warriors with low combat effectiveness. We wouldn't be here today. To put it bluntly, we might even be destroyed along with Planet Vegeta. Our lives are all yours. The other Saiyans echoed. Mu Chuan didn't care whether what they said was true or false, and accepted it happily. However, he changed his tone and said again, since everyone's strength has been improved, and they have mastered the power of the giant ape, then it's time for us to leave this desolate planet. Now our location coordinates have been known by Gyula, and the Mecca team has lost contact, so they will definitely think of us at that time. That guy is a monster more terrifying than Frieza. With our current combat power, we can't fight him head-on. Let's hide first. Hearing this, the joy of all the Saiyans present just now cooled down instantly, as if they were poured with a basin of cold water. Even if they have mastered the power of the giant ape. But compared with the frozen demon clan, they are just a small witch meeting a big witch, and there is no comparison. Mu Chuan didn't want to put himself in a dangerous place. Since the Mecca team has been solved, Gyula will definitely be very angry. It might come to this desolate planet in the next moment. In order to avoid a direct collision with the other party, it is better to avoid it quickly. And he has also thought about where to go. Go to Earth. Although Dragon Ball Trails has not yet officially started, he believes that the Earthlings are the center of the storm, not to mention that he has not yet fully mastered the use of Chi. If he knows how to use Chi, then it will be much easier for him to become a Super Saiyan. Moreover, at this moment, his basic combat power is so exaggerated, but he has no signs at all, as if he has fallen into a bottleneck. Even if his combat power continues to improve, but he does not become a Super Saiyan, then all this is in vain. Therefore, the trip to Earth has to go. After he made up his mind, he did not discuss it with other Saiyans, but just told all the Saiyans present an accurate coordinate. Then they boarded the spaceship one after another. The reason why he has the coordinates is that he found them specially when he was still on Planet Vegeta. If you go looking for it specifically, it is not impossible to find it, but in this vast universe, this coordinate seems particularly small. But only he knows. The Earth will become the center of the universe, where the child of destiny is. When they set out for the Earth, Gyula, who is far away on the other side of the universe, also received reports from his subordinates at this time. King Gyula, the detector just showed, the Mecca team lost contact. And a few minutes ago, it also showed a lot of unknown strong men, basically reaching a combat power of more than 100,000. Among them, there are as many as 12 people. Intermittent information came from the detector, seemingly talking about Saiyans. After the report, this cosmic man knelt on the ground in fear, fearing that Gyula would destroy him with a destructive beam. However, what greeted him was not destruction. Only King Gyula, whose breath gradually became heavy. Gyula's face was grim at this time, and he was very angry. From the information he got, he knew that the Mecca team might have been eliminated by someone. Or by the Saiyans. The Saiyans were within the scope of Frieza's rule, and now they appeared at the coordinates given by Frieza. That means that all this was done by his good brother Frieza. He was hit hard at once. His ace team was completely defeated. Good. Very good. Very good, Frieza. If I don't show you some color, do you really think that my brother is completely a decoration? You are called the genius of the Frozen Demon clan, just because I don't want to be on the same level with you. If that's the case, then I will let you taste the feeling of heavy losses. Gyula was angry. It can be said that he was more angry than ever before. When he was provoked at the beginning, he just felt that his majesty was shaken, but he was not as angry as he is now. Now but it was different. The ace team in his hand, the Mecca team, was destroyed by others. This was the most important team in his conquest of the universe, and now it's gone. If you want to subdue such a subordinate, it's unknown when, and it's so easy to accept. He is extremely precious. Now it's completely gone. How can he not be angry? Go full speed, I want to reach Frieza as quickly as possible. As Gyula's order was issued, the entire spaceship seemed to be moving at dozens of times the original speed, and it even felt like it was going to disintegrate. But even so, no one dared to disobey Gyula's order. It can be seen. Gyula's anger must be unquenchable. Frieza didn't know that his mistaken actions made him really hated by Gyula. And what awaits him will be a brotherly struggle. Mu Chuan and the others didn't know that they had escaped a disaster, because all the blame was put on Frieza's head. They were not noticed by anyone. But, Mu Chuan had lived 2 lives, and he was unwilling to rely on the kindness of others for his life. Everything was prepared for the worst. But maybe they were unlucky. When they were heading to the Earth at full speed, they were wrapped by a huge meteorite. That meteorite looked like a planet. And it was directly hitting them. The spaceship sounded an alarm. Beep beep beep. It has been detected that a UFO is about to hit the spaceship. Now activate the emergency plan. The entire spaceship began to flash red light, and the alarm kept ringing. Mu Chuan hurriedly looked outside the spaceship. It was an extremely huge meteorite, just like a planet, but it was impossible for them to collide. But why did they enter the same orbit? Because his spaceship was ahead, and the rest of the Saiyans were still behind. Now, he was the first to bear the brunt. He tried several times to get out of orbit. But he found that it was not possible to get out just as he wanted to. The unidentified planet seemed to be heading towards him. This discovery surprised him. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support our channel.